Evening. Hello. Test. Testing. You're good. Okay. Sorry about that. Welcome everybody to the October full board meeting of Queens Community Board 2, and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. And the flag is over there. I know none of us on the stage can see it, but hopefully everybody in the audience can. Thank you. Okay, so before we start with public comments, I just want to remind anyone who's come in a little bit late. If you are an elected official or someone who works for an elected official, please sign up on the pink sheet if you haven't already. If you want to make general public comment, please come up and sign up on the green sheet. And if you want to make public comment about the bid, the Long Island City bid that we're going to be talking about tonight, you can make comment on the yellow sheet that's on the table. We are going to start with I don't think we have any elected leaders here, so we're going to start with comments from our elected leaders representatives, starting with Irene. Irene from Senator Gianaris's office. There you are. You can come up. Irene, you can come up.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Glad to see you all. I know usually Mercedes comes, but we're back and forth. But just want to representing Mike today, and we are out there and within the Woodside area. Tomorrow we're doing a G-Mobile over in Woodside and 77th Street. You can meet your local senator there, and any concerns and everything will be out there. Our new office, I don't know, Mercedes told you guys, is at 4502 Ditmars Boulevard in Astoria. So we're out there where the whole staff is answering whatever we need to be done to make this community a success. Thank you. Sure. Okay, I will double check with the ribbon cutting. But which parks? Just the one over by okay. 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 So you just want a ribbon cutting ceremony? Okay. Okay. To the office, and we'll reach out to parks. Thank you.
Are there any other questions from the board for Irene? Thank you. So just a reminder that questions are from board members. Tom is a board member, so only questions for electeds from board members. Next is Mafuzal from Senator Gonzalez's office.
How you guys doing? Thank you for coming this evening. My name is Mahfouz Islam. I'm the community liaison for State Senator Kristen Gonzalez. I'll be quite short, just a couple of updates that we have from our district and from the state senator herself. We've been pushing for the shelter Wi-Fi bill statewide, along with getting high-speed internet at the shelters. We just got the cybersecurity for critical infrastructure bill signed by Kathy Hochul not about a month ago or so now. And as a result of the Fix the MTA campaign, the Q4 bus is now free, which is out in Jamaica, Queens. So our office is, quite open for any sort of inquiries, questions, any way you guys would like to help with asylum seekers as well. My email address is islam@nysenate.gov. And our office is actually near in Grand Central because we are a 3-borough district itself. So yeah, if you have any questions, I'll be in the back.
Yes. In there, push to avoid the bill, accommodate freedom, so that the vehicle, they call. But here, most of the shelters, don't have to accommodate the veterans utilize the electric to charge their scooters, but they can have to use inside the shelter at 5 scooters. So maybe something to consider, accommodating the cluster about the residents.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'll definitely relay that to the state senator, electric vehicles. This for the electric vehicles? Okay, I'll make sure that is gone to the attention of state senator. Fire safety center. Got it. Okay, I will make sure to flag that information then.
And next is Victoria from Assemblymember Raga's office.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Happy to see you all again. Hope you are all having a healthy and safe fall season. On the updates from our end, so event-wise, over the weekend, we just celebrated our first Hispanic Heritage Month event. Upcoming events, we do have a workshop on EBT skimming and theft, and that's going to be on October 13th from 1 to 5 p.m. at the Woodside Senior Center, the Samaritan Daytop Village Senior Center over in Woodside from 1 to 5 p.m. And that's in conjunction with Sunnyside Community Services, Assemblymember Jessica Gonzalez Rojas's office, Council Member Julie Wan's office, Senator Gianaris's office, Congresswoman Velasquez's office, and New York City Social Services. And then on the 28th, we will be hosting our Filipino American History Month celebration at Diversity Plaza. Location is subject to change. And then lastly, on the last Tuesday of the month, October 24th, I believe, we will be hosting our monthly tenant legal clinic with CORE. That's from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at our district office. If you are a tenant with any issues with your landlord or housing situation, you can call our office and make an appointment. Some other community updates. So over the weekend, our district, we did receive reports of flooding throughout our district, mainly in the East Elmhurst area. If you are a resident that has received damage to your property or there was flooding on your block, we do ask you to call our office and notify us so that we can keep tabs on the areas in our district that are prone to high flooding. In conversations with DEP, a lot of the areas where constituents are reporting flooding have been marked as areas not prone to flooding, and that is a lot to do with lack of reports in the city system. So we're trying to rectify that by keeping tabs and making sure our office is aware of areas that need strong infrastructure improvements, both temporary and long-term solutions. So if you have any concerns about flooding or experience flooding over the depression from this weekend, please call our office and let us know. Yes.
So I learned that the
Thank you for the question. So the BQE along 48th Ave, also, we receive reports of flooding along there. I did reach out to State DOT because of the revitalization project that is on their queue to figure out if that type of flooding is going to be addressed within that project. And if not, what other solutions could we implement to address the flooding, especially along the BQE? Thank you. Yes. Yes. Yes, correct. So hopefully I have a lengthy response from the state DOT that we can connect and yeah, follow up with. Yes. Yeah, so I'm not aware of any communication that the state DOT has had with CB2. If that's something that we can schedule a meeting, and I can try and get state DOT to either attend the next environmental transportation committee meeting, or if that's a separate meeting that we can try and schedule with them, I'm happy to push that along. Yes. Mhm. Mhm.
very good. We already want to be things that should have been something like you might go there. Where did you send it?
So I can't remember if there was a bill or a letter in the budget that was pushing for subsidizing e-bikes. The member is definitely in favor of making sure that low income and working family New York City residents have access to transportation. I can't remember if it was a bill that we are co-sponsored on, but Mr. Owens, correct? If we can connect, and I can let you know if we've co-sponsored that bill or not. And if we haven't, I can flag it with the member for our review. Correct. Any more questions? Yeah. 8275. Okay, great. Thank you.
Next, we have Natalie from Assemblymember Ardila's office. Natalie?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Natalie, and I'm representing Assemblymember Juan Ardila. So during the Assembly members' many walks through the district with community members and staff, our office has been seeing and reporting numerous issues to 311, particularly a pedestrian walking signal on the northwest corner of 46th Street and Queens Boulevard that was obstructed with graffiti. On the subject of graffiti removal, our office reached out to the 108 precinct to request graffiti removal along the subway underpass below the elevated 7 line on Queens Boulevard, which was completed. If you have any other spots that need cleaning, please let our office know. This past month, we have continued partnering with Universal Services Administrative Company to help struggling families and individuals obtain free tablets or free cell phones with free internet service for 6 years, made possible by funding from the FCC. We will continue to host events to help individuals sign up for these digital devices and services throughout the district. The office has continued to serve as a safe haven for asylum seekers and migrants with weekly clothing distribution. Please direct anyone who needs support to our office for clothing services. On legislation, Governor Kathy Hochul signed Assemblymember Juan Ardila's third piece of legislation law, which with this latest one addressing labor and public safety. The bill allows businesses and employers to sign up for New York State's public safety mass notification system, which sends emergency alerts about severe weather warnings, hazardous material spills, or other public safety emergencies that could affect our state's workforce and job sites, such as the storm from last week. On the day our city had a massive flash flood, the assembly member visited parts of the district to check on businesses and homes that had experienced extensive flooding to help out in any way that we could. Additionally, we visited a street closure on 48th Street between Barnett Avenue and 47th Avenue near IS 429 that was experiencing severe flooding. We are partnering with Centro de Paraguay of New York for free mammogram services on November 11th, so please contact our office in order to sign up. And since we are in spooky season, we will be hosting a treats and greets event at our district office for kids trick-or-treating on Halloween between 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. And we have flyers for more information on the back. And last but not least, yesterday, the assembly member joined the New York City Sheriff's Office in a series of inspections of unlicensed cannabis dispensaries in Sunnyside and Woodside, resulting in the temporary closure of at least one location. The Sheriff's Joint Compliance Task Force conducted the inspections, which occurred at 4304 Convenience, located at 4304 43rd Street, Perfume, located at 4345 44th Street, Skillman Avenue Convenience, located at 5008 Skillman Avenue, and Sunnyside Clouds, located at 4503 40th Street. The assembly member saw with his own eyes secret rooms filled with out-of-state nicotine and cannabis products, food and drinks, items resembling popular soda brands and children's gummy worm candy, bags of cannabis hidden under a boiler, and more. None of these locations had a license to sell cannabis or cannabis-infused items, and all of them were operating within walking distance of public schools, children's playgrounds, and the homes of numerous constituents. The assembly member wants to make it very clear that he nor his office are not against the state's rollout of cannabis dispensary licenses, but he takes concern with complaints that stores are operating in a way that seriously jeopardizes public health or caters to underage consumers. Any questions on what we shared today can be directed to the member directly at ardilaj@newyorkassembly.gov or my email, which is RAJ, B as in boy, IAN, another N, @newyorkassembly.gov. Questions regarding the New York City Sheriff's inspections of unlicensed cannabis dispensaries can be directed via email to publicrelations@sheriff.nyc.gov. Thank you to all the community board team members and attendees. Have a great night. Thank you.
The pushers is, oh, it's live. Good. Yeah, you referred to 3 bills that as the assembly members' bills. Was he the primary sponsor of those bills, or was he simply a co-sponsor, one of many? It's a matter of public record. I was just concerned because I thought it was misleading to characterize it as if he has championed these bills. As you know, we had a vote of no confidence, so we're watching very carefully to see what he's doing.
Hey, from the Borough President's Office, Claire?
Hi, everybody. It's nice to see you all. So I'm going to start with the storm briefing. So this Friday, our office held a virtual storm briefing between city agencies, elected officials, and community board leadership to address any storm-related complaints and issues throughout the borough. And then on Monday at 3 p.m., our office held a follow-up meeting to assure that all of the complaints and concerns had been addressed by the respective government agencies. As on top of that, it is crucial that we continue to report all damages from the storm. The website to report all damages is reportdamage.nyc.gov. It's very important that we report the damages because this is how we get a federal declaration as well as FEMA dollars into our community. So I encourage you to use that website. Our office also has 2 upcoming events. On Tuesday, October 10th from 6 to 8 p.m. at Queens Museum, we're having a Hispanic Heritage Celebration. And then we're also having a New York Voting Rights Town Hall on October 19th at 6 p.m. This is going to be virtual. So the link will be available on our website, and I can also send it out in an email to all of the board members. And that's all I have from the Borough President's office.
Hi, I have a question. How does the community board request FEMA dollars? The reason I'm asking is because we have requests on our expense and capital that have been there for 10, 20 years that have to do with persistent flooding. And we every year hear of people dying because of flooding. So I'm just kind of curious, how do we actually get the requested funds from FEMA to make this not a recurring issue?
So our director of urban sustainability is the one who oversees the FEMA dollars. But if I can give you my email and I can refer that over to our director of urban sustainability for you.
That would be helpful.
right.
Would they be able to have a meeting with me to literally walk through like and log all of the requests that we have?
I don't know what her schedule looks like, but
I'm just curious how they work with other people. That's what I'm asking.
So I'm actually just in the community boards department, but I will look into that for you and get back to you. So
That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So there's many small businesses, I'm sure everywhere, but in Long Island City where I live, that had flooding or roofs collapsed or leaking. Is there, where can they contact for some assistance through the borough, or maybe it's not the borough, maybe it's the state?
Off the top of my head, I don't know, and I don't want to give you a wrong answer. So I will get back to you on that. Yes.
What are we doing? We need action. The sewer system on average is 80 years old. It is in disrepair. There is no maintenance done on it. And we have raw sewage coming into our basements. We need our tax dollars and emergency funding directed to this state emergency. It's an emergency right now. And I appreciate hearing rhetoric, but we need action. Please. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Yes, my email is ccollins, which is COLLINS at queensbp.org.
Yeah, that's so great. Just following up on that. Yeah, I mean, I want to be able to tell my neighbors where to call. You know, we all had backed up sewers in our basements for Hurricane Ida. We've had it again in the storm. This is not going away. You just said there were a number of meetings, and then there was, we should inform you. Is that your speech just indicated that, right? Like your speech, you said you had 2 meetings, right?
Yes.
And how were those, how was the public notified of that?
So those meetings were between government agencies and elected officials to discuss the reports that they had received. So the majority of those reports were through 311 complaints.
They were, yeah, Debbie, sure.
Yes.
So we should report this to the community board then,
Yes.
and you can report it up that way? Okay, I'll have all my neighbors call you.
But to follow up on that, could there be a borough-wide town hall for the whole public, all of us, to talk about the sewers, which I think are way older than 80 years, and all the flood? I mean, Friday wasn't even a 100-year storm. It was just a storm.
So I have a question. So I got the thing. So you're saying if we go on 311, you're going to get FEMA monies. If the people who are in the basement, who I had an 80-year-old mother, she was under, like she had in Sunnyside, we have a sewer. She was 80 years old. I had to walk and go take but you know what? After a while, I'm like, I don't know where to throw the water. So we put it in, put it back in. It was horrible. We had so much damage that the FEMA money, is it going to people who actually had so much damage? And I'm sure a lot of people who live in Sunnyside, I'm sure at Lacey, we had a lot. And forget about the furniture, We just, the walls, we had to put it in, we had to put cement in. But I hear there's raining this weekend. That's the first thing my mom said, well, you guys are all staying over tonight, because if there's another storm, where do we put? So I think, Steve, you may know what it is. And the gardens, you know, when you walk around the sewers on people's, I actually clean these sewers out myself. We go in and we hired someone. With my neighbor, I'm like, can you help me clean this out? Because we're so worried what's going to happen. So it's like, I just want to know if the FEMA money comes in. Go ahead.
I spoke to the borough president today, and there is a website. I don't know if you shared this, the reportdamage.nyc.gov, and I did that today, and it asks you a whole bunch of questions. I believe you're not getting any money if you have insurance. So that's the out. So if you have insurance, you're out of luck. I'm just telling you. But that's the website to claim for money. Yes, right.
Yeah, so thank you, Thomas. Just to clarify, to report the damages and for the FEMA and the federal declaration is reportdamage.nyc.gov. But then for the city complaints that will be addressed by DEP and DOT, that's going to be the 311.
Can I just add something as the district manager of Community Board 2? We were all invited as government representatives and the community board representative to be on that meeting to hear. When you have sewer issues, every year in the Wynwood Gardens area, they have submitted locations of sewers that need to be cleaned. I just want to remind everybody, please submit those requests so we can get them into DEP. So they're on record of heavy locations, and we can make sure the borough president's office is aware of that as well. And again, if you have a claim, the city controller's office, go onto their website and you can put in a claim there as well.
Debbie, thank you. Just so I'm clear, the issue mostly in the areas is not that the street sewer is clogged. The issue is capacity of the sewers. And the sewers do not have the capacity to deal with all of the buildings we built, thousands of toilets, all this stuff. We've never added sewers, and it's coming into our homes from the sewer. It's not the overflow.
And we should
It's
put a
the
letter
sewer
together to
backing up.
DEP and the borough
It's an
president.
emergency. We need action. Thank you.
Agree.
Okay. Yeah, Director of Urban Sustainability is the one that's handling the issues related to this storm. I think it's DEP. Yeah, it's DEP.
Is that it, Laura? Yeah, so just want to invite you and remind everybody that we're going to have the Environment, Parks and Recreation Committee meeting on Thursday, October 26th. Like to invite the Director of Urban Sustainability, the full board, members of the public and the community to discuss this. And Debbie, if would be great if we could invite the EP, but I'll send you an email.
Okay, thank you. I took notes of all of your guys' comments. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Claire. Okay, we're going to move to public comment, starting with,
Julian one's
oh,
representative.
didn't have you on the list. Sorry. Welcome back. Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone, or evening now. My name is Farah and I'm Councilmember One's district manager. So just to reiterate, last Friday, we had the storm. Our office, what we did is we reached out to DEP ahead of time for some of the areas that we knew were high flood zone areas. And DEP is working with us to send out machines basically to help drain water out. That's what we were told by DEP last week. So if that's the case, tomorrow there's supposed to be another storm. Please let us know. We will reach out to DEP and have Councilmember One reach out to them and make sure that they are going and doing this service because they said that they would clean out the drains.
When the water is coming up in our basement, through the drains in our basement, I don't see how that's polluted.
I understand that. And that is part of a larger capital infrastructure program that the council member is working with Congresswoman Velasquez and Congresswoman Meng's office along with the DEP. It's going to take some time to put those changes into effect. But it is really it has to be done, a capital project has to be done to make significant changes to our water main system. And
I know, we've been reaching out to your office since May for assistance with this, and we still have not had the meeting with DEP. And the last communication was that you have to prioritize. So I know where Blissville falls on the priority list, obviously.
So right, and we're very much aware of that. And so that's why we're hoping to get something done because Councilmember One does not want to have this be a continued issue. We see how badly the flooding is. Yes, we are very much aware that it is an emergency. I definitely hear you, Tom. And I know Kaesung has been working with you on trying to get that meeting with DEP. And so please share with us where you live. We'll have DEP reach out. You can email us at district26@council.nyc.gov. I check that email very frequently. I check it throughout the day. And so please email that email and we'll be able to provide more assistance.
Bill to allow thank you. Oh, to allow basement apartments to be legalized. There was no forwarding the bill, as far as I understand, no passing of the bill. From what I understand, now we have this situation with flooding. And here we are, we're talking about the flooding in basements. Then we had one of our other community board members just say that her mother lives in the basement. So where are we with this bill and legalizing the basement apartments? Will that happen? Is it going to be silence on it? I know housing is a very rare thing, especially here in Queens, which has a growing population. But I think if we don't address it one way or the other, we're going to see other things that we saw in the past with Sandy, with people perishing. So I'm just bringing this up, maybe something to consider.
Yeah, no, I definitely hear you, Warren, and thank you for bringing that up. I'll have to check in on the legislation bit. Isaac's not here today and he's our legislative director, but I'll check in and I'll get an answer back to you and I'll share it with Danielle on that because yeah, but on terms of like where it is, and what's being done, because I know that Councilmember One wants to make sure, you know, the 13 people who passed away in Hurricane Ida because of the flooding, that doesn't happen again. And what we were also doing this past Friday, we were working with Woodside on the Move to make sure that there was a shelter for people to go to, that if they did live in basements, they could go to PS 361 so that way they could be there to ensure like, you know, they have somewhere to be because you can't just go to higher ground if you live in a basement. Where are you going to go? So that's something that we were working with this past week. So within our district, to my knowledge, very minimal flooding happened. It wasn't to the extent that some of the schools in Brooklyn's faced, but there was still some flooding to my knowledge.
And two were black.
Yes.
Two different issues. Councilmember Wong.
Mhm. So I know she is working with the investigative, so with Councilmember Brewer, who's the chair of the investigations, to further look into where all the money is going. I don't have too much details on it. Isaac, our legislative director, would have more details on it. So again, I can have Isaac reach out to you. And this. I hear you. And I think once we get that information, because again, this was just the beginning of a hearing. This hearing was just the beginning, so a lot of work has to go into it.
Maybe we also need to hear from the city comptroller's office on this, because that's who I think has some power there.
I had a question. So I have a question. I know the other board member asked about the basement being rented out. Actually, my mom doesn't live downstairs. She lives upstairs. The only issue is in Sunnyside after Sandy, it's very hard for people to rent out their basements because Sunnyside, it's always flooding, always. Yeah. So with the rent, I don't think that went anywhere. Everybody's still saying on that. But the thing is, people who do live in those basements, there are some families who live, and I don't think people know this. Where do they go? Like, people don't know that in the community, because I sent some people to the shelters, and I think that's where are these people? Because it was so underwater, kids, families. We saw people walking like, where are we going? But I think somewhere we have to tell them when people are living in basements, where do they get when these floods happen? Because there's going to happen again, maybe in this weekend.
Yeah. So I think at least one partner or community partner that we've worked with is Woodside on the Move, and they have been incredibly helpful in, you know, letting people know where to go for shelter. They're one of our trusted community partners as a government office, and so I would suggest that. If not, then you can also reach out to us, and I'll be able to find other places where you can go. And we're trying to find more places because we know that there's so many places where people live in basements and they need to be able to get shelter. And And so we're definitely working on that. We're constantly updating our contacts and just trying to find where people can go if they live in a basement.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to be very long-winded, everyone, so please forgive me. I have a statement and then I'm going to ask the questions after the statement. So on October 3rd, NBC did a report and they reported in the past year alone, Bellevue Hospital has seen 1/4 of nearly 30,000 visits from undocumented migrants seeking medical care in the city's public system. My question is, will there be an increase in funding for the public hospitals to address the additional visits? In the same article goes on to say there was 300 births at Bellevue Hospital, and there's been people from the migrant community receiving chemotherapy. So one, are we going to see additional funding? Sometime back, the governor, this may be a state issue more than anything else, cut the funding for state hospitals, and now there's no state hospitals to accommodate now an increase in our population with the migrants. My second question is, is related to the schools. So as far as I understand, we have about 30 plus shelters in the whole of Councilmember Juan's office. How many of those shelters are migrant families? And the reason why I ask is because we're facing the same problem in our public schools. So are the schools within our district that has the migrants at these, attending these schools, are they receiving the funding for that increase? And this is language translation. This is also for books, counseling, and for more teachers. That's one.
Okay.
I got 3 questions.
Can I answer them? As
Sure.
Okay. Because I don't want to forget
Okay, I got you.
your questions. Yeah, no. So for the first question, that's regarding hospital funding, I will have to check in with our budget coordinator and the council member to get more details on that. Only because I'm not too familiar with that specific bit. But in terms of the school funding, I know that we have been encouraging students to enroll in public schools. When we gave away backpacks to all the migrant children, or all the children who are newly arrived asylum seekers, we told their parents, please enroll your children in the public schools. That's where the funding will go. And that's what we were seeing. And so that was the result of our outreach. So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah. Again, thank you. Appreciate the answers. Please think about East Elmhurst Hospital. Even though I quoted Bellevue Hospital, we don't know what those numbers are in births and chemotherapy in East Elmhurst. So, and then we look at the whole of our community board or district, and then we further into Corona, Jackson Heights. They use, or I even myself use East Elmhurst, and I want to make sure that if they're impacted, they're able to absorb the impact with additional funding. So I'm just putting that out there to you.
No, I definitely hear you because in this area, Yeah. We definitely hear your frustration. I know the council member is looking into a lot of this because, again, as we all know, and as both of you pointed out, a lot of the families that are coming, they're experiencing a lot of trauma. They're experiencing a lot of health issues. Before I worked in council, I worked with refugees and immigrants, and I worked with a lot of newly arrived asylum seekers during from 2016 to like about 2019. And so it is what everyone who just recently arrived has gone through is a lot. And so they are in need of those services from school to health. And so Councilmember Juan is very much attuned to that. And she is pushing for, no budget cuts to the budget right now. She wants to make sure that we're able to get as much funding as we possibly can, because she knows how important this is for everybody who's coming in.
Okay, and I have one final question. I know the council member had a hearing a couple of weeks ago, and it's a very long hearing, and I appreciate that she held city officials and others accountable for the funding that the city has been giving various organizations. So my question is regarding her hearing. So she invited a particular organization by the name of DocGo, who's currently receiving $432 million And they were invited to attend this hearing and they were a no-show. So my question is, have they had any dialogue with the council members since then? And if not, why are we continuing to give this organization, in particular, as an example, millions and millions of dollars when they don't want to be held accountable? So I think maybe we should be looking at others who are willing to be transparent. So.
Yeah.
That's all.
Thank you for that
Thank you.
question. To my knowledge, there has been no communication between DACO and council members since then. That is something I can ask her about and get back to you and have Danielle share with the board and everybody here. Yes. I definitely, yeah, no, it's okay. But the other thing, so if she hasn't gotten contact, then the second part of the question was, why are we continuing? I am not sure what the process is in terms of holding the, contractors accountable. So I have to ask Isaac and we'll get back to you and the council member. Yeah. I didn't really get through all my updates. Can I? No, it's okay. So as we all heard, Councilmember 1 had the hearing with oversight and investigations. So with Councilmember Brewer, and they were able to hold shelter providers accountable and make sure that shelter providers are actually providing the services that they're contracted for, not just DACO, but others, because a lot of what shelter providers are supposed to give to our neighbors who live in shelter are mental health services, are culturally appropriate and healthy foods, laundry services, everything that will help transition a person, into a thriving life here in the United States or here in New York City. And so we're hoping to see more change. Councilmember 1 is dedicated to ensuring that we, not just Council District 26, but everybody who arrives to New York City and lives in New York City has access to school, health, water, food, everything that we as New Yorkers living here have access to as well. I also wanted to talk about participatory budgeting. I have some flyers here. I'm gonna, after I get down from here, I'm going to pass those flyers around. We're having an informational session on the 12th of October. It's gonna be by Zoom and it'll be in the evening. It'll be around 6 o'clock. So I encourage you all to join this informational session. We're also collecting ideas right now. So if there are any capital ideas that you want to see or capital changes you want to see in the city, so that can be anything from the bus countdown clocks to, rain gardens, to capital improvements in the schools, please submit those ideas. We had last year during our participatory budgeting, we had a lot of school-based ideas. We were able to bring accessibility ramps to schools, do some tech upgrades for some schools. So we would like to see a lot more folks participate this year and bring more changes to the district. So I'll pass those around. And yeah, if you have any.
Just quick. The council member's office put up a form to submit potential locations for a new park in Sunnyside. Can you just share any more details or information about that?
Yes, so we were informed by, I believe, the Parks Department that we can put up a new park in Sunnyside South. We were told to solicit ideas or bring ideas from the community, and they will see where the park can go.
Fantastic, thank you.
Yeah. Yes.
Your definition, south of Queens, not only will it provide a park, but it will also help with resiliency. We need more green infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Second that, my neighborhood. Does anyone else have any other questions? Yes.
Department
So the idea is to start the community engagement process to see where people want to see a park. So how further, like which areas of Sunnyside do you want to see the park in? Things like that. And so right now it's just idea collection and just engaging with the community to see where you want to see a park, because I don't think Parks wants to come and put a park in a place where people don't want a park, right? And so that's the idea. We're just getting ideas from the community. We're also communicating with Parks because I know a lot of people have questions. I also live in Sunnyside too. I know a lot of people I'm friends with and neighbors with have questions. So we're communicating with Parks to answer everybody's questions as well. Yeah. Yes. As a community, as a community board. So that is the participatory budgeting process. In short, we collect the ideas and then we have budget delegates who then use those ideas to create projects. And then the city council agency or the agencies that work with our city council, like general, they help us not decide, but like understand which projects can be used as a participatory budgeting process. So well, it's not done in that one day. It's from, starting from now up until end of January, where this whole process of like fleshing out ideas, creating projects and seeing which ones can actually be done through participatory budgeting will be decided on. And then in April, we vote. March and April, we vote. And there's a limited amount of funding, right? Yeah. Yeah.
It's a limited amount of money.
Yeah.
So most of what, yeah, no, but most of what we
Saying
want.
that representatives of the community.
Yes, and thank you for sharing that. So you can put it in, and when you come to the meeting, my colleague, Nayli, will be able to explain a little bit more, and hopefully something can be done. And I want to say the participatory budgeting, it's how we decide how to use $1 million in City Council District 26. So, whatever project ideas we have, we want to make sure it uses up I think it's a minimum of 50,000. So I think, whatever capital ideas you have, if you want to see bus, I'm using the bus one just because I just saw a bus counter, but like a bus waiting counter, if you want to see it all along Queens Boulevard from one point to another point, you could probably ask for that. Things like that. Yes.
Just on the subject of park, Lieutenant Michael Davidson Park Playground, Phipps Playground, 50th Street and 39th Avenue. That we saw the plans for that in 2020. I asked the council member last year if any progress has been made, because it's still the same derelict park it's always been. I'm sad to say my children will be too old to play in that park by the time it's done. You have it.
So I know somebody had asked us, I remember asking about this park to the Parks Department. They were still not in the design phase of it yet at that point, I believe. Okay. Okay. So I'm misspeaking. I'm probably thinking of another park.
9 a year, each month.
Yeah, it takes.
You know, like, we're pretty very lucky we live in the same neighborhood. And, you know, we don't agree that. But I would like to have one more in our neighborhood. We have to. I know it's not really for herself, but she has a competition for her neighborhood, which was, you know,
Yeah. Yeah, and thank you for sharing that. I'll let her know and hopefully we can get her to write a letter to help expedite that park.
Which the design was the bad. When the Parks Department comes by to clean up, they clean up the outer part and not the inner part, which is now a real mess. And when you speak to them, you find out the reason they don't clean the inner part, although they say they want to, is because the Parks Department is refusing to give the workers the key to get into the inner part. So perhaps you could ask Julie to speak to the Parks Department and say, hey, if you're not going to build it, can you at least clean it?
Okay, I will let her know. Yes.
So just to piggyback on this comment, I was Director of Government Affairs at DOT for years. Here's what everybody. Over. Frankly, you know, the community board process exists and we should encourage that process to be encouraged and developed further. But separately, I also just wanted to say, I'm a relatively new member of the community board and also a constituent of the council members. I've been disappointed that she hasn't attended the community board meeting since I joined. She joined one to argue with the assembly member and sort of lamented having to step out of an event. But I mean, you're doing a great job, but I would love to see her attend more of these meetings as well. You know, there's a lot of questions here and it's, I think, important.
So I know she came to last month's meeting.
Okay, I had COVID, I'm sorry.
Yeah, she came to last month's meeting and I also manage her schedule, just as a FYI.
Yeah.
Tonight she had another meeting at City Hall. So we try to schedule her in to come in whenever she can. I think last year she came to about 3 community board meetings out of the 9 that we had. Yeah, so I'm trying to, and she also goes to the ones in community board 1 too.
Of course.
So, you know, we're trying.
Appreciate it.
And I hope you can appreciate the patience because thank you for your patience.
Yeah, no, and again, not a comment on your performance here. I've been in the same spot and you are handling this very well. So I appreciate you providing all these updates and answering our questions.
Okay. Yes, I know we're way behind schedule. One more question?
I have a question, a very quick question along the same lines as the park. If you recall, there's a building that's supposed to be built that is a commercial parking lot on Barnett Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
And we went through with this community board quite considerable deliberations and so on. Any news as to when they're going to be doing anything there? This was a development that was going to be 100% affordable with the income bands reasonable. We should be extremely proud of that in our area. And yet, where is it?
I can touch base with the team to find out more on that. And then I'll get back to you on it because I'm not too familiar with the details.
Yeah, no, I think Councilmember Wan, she and I went around in the Phipps buildings at the time and so on, but I would just, I think we all want to know. It's not just when you say back to me, it's not just me.
No. And hopefully by next month when I come, there will be the updates to every question that everyone had here today.
Good luck. Thank you.
I have no guarantees, but I'll try my best.
Thanks, Farah. Okay, so we have a quick late breaking news from Claire from the Borough President's office, and it's going to be quick.
Hi, yeah. So I emailed them. They got back to me very quickly. So tomorrow after 11 a.m., we are giving out supplies for the flood at Borough Hall. We're going to be giving out flood barricades and a very limited amount of water pumps So Badrun, you can come get some. It's going to be at Borough Hall. Come to the back of the building in the parking lot starting at 11 a.m. It's going to be first come, first served.
Thank you. Okay, we have two more representatives from both of our area Congress people, starting with the rep from Nydia Velasquez's office. So I'm going to ask you to try to keep it quick, although I can't guarantee you won't have questions.
Hello, everyone. My name is Samantha Johnson. I'm the community liaison for Congresswoman Nydia Velasquez. It will be extremely quick. I want to first just give you all my email in case you have any questions. It's my first name, which is Samantha.Johnson@mail.house.gov. So if you have any additional questions after my presentation, I'm happy to answer them, but I also will be in the back and you can email me. I also have some literature here just to give you an update of what we've been doing. And last but not least, on October 14th, the Congresswoman will be doing a community resource fair at PS 343. That address is 45-45 42nd Street, obviously in Sunnyside. And we have a count of certain participants that'll be coming. So this flyer may not be, it's fully updated, but this is what we have. So I wanted to make sure as it got hot on the press, you all have received a flyer. And as it updates, I will make sure if you contact me, you will receive that information. Absolutely, I surely will. In regards to anyone concerning of the migrant shelter, I have toured a few along with the Congresswoman. She's been at Roosevelt, in addition to one we have in Brooklyn, a large HERC site, and we're aware of the one here in Long Island City and Sunnyside area. With that being said, hence why we wanted to really emphasize the resource center with having resources for individuals who are coming from the different areas that are migrating to this location. And as I mentioned, any additional suggestions as you're experiencing that think may be beneficial for the young people, as well as the parents in the healthcare industry, as well as anything in education, we're happy to add those to our list. So if there's not any questions.
So I think there are.
Okay, if there are any questions, I'll take about 3 questions and then I'll be in the back and I can answer all of them as you need.
Start.
ahead.
Can you, I think Debbie asked you, can you get the information on the
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. I know in the House of Representatives.
Absolutely.
But, and I'm asking this because Tom has stepped away, but is there any chance we're going to get funding from the federal government, one, to fix or build new sewers, and to help with the, migrant refugee population that we have in the city, in the state, really?
That's a loaded question, so I'll do as much as I can with time permitted. In regards to any infrastructure, as we all are aware, the Biden administration has provided some infrastructure, funding, with the state having to be able to designate those particular locations for that, for those particular projects. So we are really saying use this money. A lot of folk are using it for the BQE or having those particular type of conversations, but we really are emphasizing on our state and even our city agencies to let us know exactly what's going on. We know that Long Island City and Sunnyside has a major flooding problem. We're not even going to lie about that. And so there's ways that we can have conversations about where these targeted areas are to emphasize that this is where the money needs to go in partnership with our local government as well. In regards to any additional funding for the migrants, it is a touchy issue because we ain't got nobody in the house, y'all. No one's manning the house right now. So we're really trying to, all the subcommittees right now are locked because there's no conversation about the funding as much as it is about trying to get representation. With that being said, when those things finally pass, we'll be able to go back into those subcommittees and re-emphasize. A lot of my colleague in government from Ming's office will probably emphasize this as well. A lot of the subcommittees have had a lot of the projects of infrastructure inside of their proposals. So we don't know what's going to pass as far as infrastructure goes. So we're really biting our nails and hoping that each one of the subcommittees actually approves by the votes so that these things that are really major to our constituents are able to pass. So we're still holding on for dear life and hoping that. But of course, if there's any additional information, I'm happy to provide that to the board Yeah, there was a question. Yes.
Yes, so yesterday, the MTA released their 20-year needs assessment and included some analysis on Sunnyside Station, which has been, which would essentially create a new Long Island Railroad station in Sunnyside Yards, which could also serve as a regional transit hub to connect the subway, buses, even Metro North, NJ Transit, because they all turn around in Sunnyside Yards, and Amtrak, of course. So the cost, the construction cost estimate is 490 million. And yeah, would it be possible to secure federal infrastructure money to build this project?
So the Congresswoman had a meeting, and let me get my data right, I believe last month, in regards to just speaking with Amtrak and also the railway agencies that are responsible. First, we want to make sure there's safety with those railroads, right? Or any type of thing with railing, because we've seen too many incidents where we've put money into places and then we disappear, and then a casualty happens, and we have to go back to the board again. So I know that that is important on the Congresswoman's list. In regards to having that money allocated or paid more attention to the Sunnyside, I can go back to the Congresswoman and discuss that and say, this is something we need to look a little bit more deeper into, and then I can come back with an answer.
Fantastic, thanks. Yeah, this
No,
was
thank you.
promised with the East Side Access Project and then scrapped.
Yeah, there's also conversation, I was at CB1 in regards to the air rail and that conversion as well. So we're aware of it, but I definitely want to amplify it based on your question. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any additional questions? All right, thank you so much.
And last but not least, Representative Grace Meng's office.
Hi, everyone. My name is Evelyn Lee. I'm from Congressman Graceman's office. I'm gonna make this really short because of time. So first of all, I just want to quickly echo on what everyone has been saying about the flooding and sewer system. And we definitely agree. This is not about how we can drain the water every time it happens. This is about infrastructure. And as you know, last year, the Congresswoman helped secure the federal funds for upgrading the New York City the infrastructure. But unfortunately, after the funding has approved, because we don't have any say, we don't have control how it's going to be used. So the Congresswoman continues to work with the governor's office and the city hall to make sure those money come back to Queens and make necessary upgrade to our sewer system and all the other infrastructure. So, and also, so recently, just a quick announcement, just a quick news about the two nonprofits, because they are based in our Queens and very close to us. So recently, the Congresswoman secured nearly 2 million in federal funding being awarded to two nonprofits in Queens. One is La Jornada and the other one is Make the Road in New York. So this funding will help those nonprofits expand their operation and better serve our families in Queens. And for those who don't know yet, starting September 25th, every US household can order 4 free COVID-19 tests delivered direct to their home. So if you haven't done it, definitely do so. And last but not least, we have some mobile office hour and weekend office hour coming up. So the mobile office hour actually very close to here. It's gonna be Jackson Heights Farmers Market. So obviously it's on a Sunday, October 15, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So welcome to stop by, say hi, and get some information, talk to us while get some fresh groceries. And then Saturday, October 4th, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. is going to be our Flushing office. And lastly, my email is Evelyn, evelyn.lee@mail.house.gov. So we would love to hear about your ideas about everything we just talked about. Thank you. Any questions? Sorry.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move to general public comment. So we have about 4 people signed up, starting with, and you will be timed and have 2 minutes to speak. Starting with David Espinoza, Sunnyside Community Service.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to our Senior and Community Center. Good to see everyone. Just have one announcement this evening on a lighter note. we'd like to invite and encourage everyone to register for the what's kind of become an annual Sunnyside Post Mile Run and Walk. That's going to be held on October 28th. And I'm going to leave some postcards when I step down here. On the postcard, you'll see there's a QR code that you can easily sign up and register. And you can also get some more information on our website at www.scsny.org. And yeah, we really would like to see everyone out there. So please spread the word, and thank you. I have nothing else. Thanks.
Thank you. Next is Assis Ali from Woodside on the Move.
Hi, everyone. My name is Asif, and I'm an outreach coordinator with Woodside on the Move. I just wanted to highlight some of our work from the last month, as well as some upcoming projects. Last month, we had on the successful community cleanup, thanks to our volunteer. Oh, I'm sorry. Last month, we had on the successful community cleanup, thanks to our volunteers. We host them on the third Saturday of each month, and the next one will be on the 21st. We also had a successful virtual legal clinic last month. Our legal clinic takes place on the last Tuesday of the month, and usually we have a housing case manager and a housing attorney there. Woodside on the Move is a part of an emergency network in partnership with New York City Emergency Management. And during the state of emergency last Friday, we sent out a notification to community members, notifying them of the flood watch and sharing resources. We also provided shelter at PS 361. As for things coming up, we'll be hosting a movie screening for the Street Project, a documentary about street safety tomorrow, 6 to 8 p.m. And the screening will take place at PS 361. Starting October 14th, we'll be resuming our civic engagement efforts, and we're looking for volunteers to assist us with phone banking and canvassing. We're also registering folks to vote, so please feel free to stop by our office if you need to register. On October 27th, we'll be hosting a haunted house at PS 361. Again, my name is Asif, and I'm with Woodside on the Move. I'll be in the back if you have any questions or if you need a flyer for anything. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, next is Manny Gomez. Manny? Not here? Okay, then Pat, you're next.
Sunnyside Artists is having a free admission art fair hosted by Queen of Angels Parish Hall, Skillman Avenue and 44th Street. It's always the best event of the season, with raffles and a glass of wine for anybody who buys even something for $1 from Lowry Liquors. So I expect to see you all there supporting your local artists. Thank you. Oh, sorry. Okay, small detail. December 2, it's a Saturday from 9 to 4. December, we're getting ahead of our, we're trying. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, we are moving on to, sorry. Oh, you have 2 minutes. Yep. Future, please sign up so we don't move on past you. What? Are you here for the bid or are you here for public comment? For the bid, we'll do the hearing in the second. We're not there yet. Okay. So we're going to start with a presentation today. I'm excited about this presentation. We spoke about this at the last meeting, and then we talked a little bit about it in the health committee meeting this month. So I want to welcome Anna Sanchez to talk about healthcare legislation. I think you have 2 people speaking. We need to. You pass it. There you go. One that works. Okay. Welcome. Thank you.
Hi. My name is Anna Sanchez, and I am one of 250,000 city retirees who are fighting to keep the health care which was promised to us throughout our work with the city. But first, before I speak on Intro 1099, just a little bit of history as a background. In 1967, the City Council enacted, and this is important, Administrative Code Section 12-120-126, which provides that the city will pay the full cost of health care up to the maximum set forth in the law for every employee, retiree, and their dependents. This is the law. Since 1967, we, the retirees, have been offered a large choice. Now, that's an important word, of plans, and our healthcare was always fully funded. Mayor Adams is trying to take away our healthcare choice and force us into the Aetna Medicare Advantage plan. Does the mayor have the right to take away the health care that retirees were promised? I worked for the city for 30 years. And for 30 years, I was told I would get health care and the health care that I have now. But no, in the last 2 years, 6 New York State judges have concluded that he does not have that right. We have been suing him. Only the city council can amend the city administrative code. But the mayor is not giving up and has appealed all the rulings in the favor, in all the rulings in the retirees' favor. Now, why is the Municipal Labor Committee, the MLC, the unions, supporting the mayor? In 1966, the New York City collective bargaining law and Taylor law were passed. But collective bargaining does not apply to retirees. That's important to know, since we are not active members or active workers. Also, the unions legally cannot represent retirees. Nevertheless, the Municipal Labor Committee, through collective bargaining with the city, voted to change retiree health plan to the Advantage plan. The Municipal Labor Committee has thrown retirees under the bus so they can use the savings to benefit active workers, not understanding that today's employees are tomorrow's retirees. Why would anyone want to work for the city if promises can be broken so easily? City Council Speaker Adrian Adams and the Municipal Labor Committee do not want the City Council to pass Intro 1099, which I will explain henceforth. City Council Speaker Adams warned council members that if they support Intro 1099, they will lose their committee positions and their discretionary funds. Also, the Municipal Labor Committee has threatened to withdraw its endorsements and financial support for any council member who support Intro 1099. Council member Charles Barron has introduced a bill called Intro 99 that would strengthen Administrative Code Section 112-127 to ensure retirees are given a choice of health plans by requiring the city to provide traditional Medicare, which we have now, and a Medigap plan, and not just the so-called quote unquote advantage plans. 17 very courageous council members have co-sponsored Intro 1099. However, we need an additional 17 for the legislation to become veto-proof. Where does our council member, Julie Wan, stand? She has not supported or sponsored Intro 1099. She's on the fence. Why has she not pushed at least for a public hearing to hear out retirees and the bill itself? Please consider and pass a resolution which I have attached and which I have given to Danielle. And in summary, to summarize the resolution, that Community Board 2 requests the City Council Civil Service Committee to hold a public hearing, at least a public hearing on Intro 1099. That Community Board 2 support Intro 99, and that Community Board 2 asks Council Member Julie Wan to support and sponsor Intro 99. I now turn this over to Debbie Farland, who will hone in on the Aetna Medicare.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Debbie Farley, and I stand with my fellow 250,000 New York City retirees. We are fighting to keep the traditional Medicare that we were promised and we have chosen. Medicare should be considered an inalienable right that cannot be stripped away by employers, unions, or elected officials. Medicare Advantage, you must understand, is not Medicare. Medicare Advantage plans are intentionally and deceptively presented to unsuspecting subscribers as being identical to Medicare with additional benefits. If this were true, there would be no need for a bait and switch. Let's put our opinions aside, and I'd like to present to you some real facts about Medicare disadvantage plans. Not every facility or doctor that accepts Medicare accepts Medicare Advantage plans. Many of our retirees currently covered under traditional Medicare permanently reside in facilities that do not and will not accept Medicare Advantage plans for payment. If stripped of their traditional Medicare, where are they to go? Due to the narrow network of providers, Medicare Advantage plans are tied to specific geographical areas. If subscribers leave the plan's service area, coverage for non-emergency or non-urgent care may be limited or excluded from coverage. Medicare Advantage plans require lengthy prior authorizations and have higher rates of denials, resulting in treatment delays, patient deaths, and unnecessary hardships. An appeal process of a denial could take weeks, months, or even years of paperwork and bureaucracy. Medicare Advantage profit-driven private insurers employ unethical practices, upcoding a scheme to systemically overbill the public by overdiagnosing their subscribers as being sicker than they really are, defrauding the government of funds, then delaying or denying medical care to these very same overdiagnosed patients. There's a reliance on proprietary algorithms and artificial intelligence as a hard and fast rule to avoid providing and paying for patient care. An Aetna medical director testified under oath that he never looked at a patient's record when deciding whether to approve or deny coverage. Back to Mayor Adams in the city. Although Mayor Adams claims that forcing retirees into Medicare Advantage will save the city money, Medicare Advantage is not cost saving for taxpayers. According to the Medicare Payment Advisory Commission, the fraudulent practices of Medicare Advantage have led to a $20.5 billion total of excess payments to Medicare Advantage insurers in 2022. In 2023, the estimate of that, the federal government will pay $75 billion in overcharges for Medicare Advantage plans. In the coming years, this overpayment problem could get substantially worse. A November of 2021 study suggests that Medicare costs from 2023 to 2031 will be 600 billion higher than if Medicare Advantage beneficiaries were instead enrolled in traditional Medicare. This means that we, as taxpayers, are paying for insurance companies to drain the Medicare trust fund, leaving much less money for traditional Medicare. Medicare Advantage plans were originally touted as programs to save Medicare money and provide better health services, but have really resulted in fraud and substandard care for patients. It is disappointing that Councilmember Juan has still not signed on to co-sponsor Intro 1099 to protect and preserve the health plans of retirees. Thank you.
Thank you. So we may have some questions. So does so my question is, I assume, or I kind of take away what you want from us is a resolution from the board in favor, that something like what you gave us. Okay. Does anyone else have any questions from the board? Tom?
He ran into Burton. He lived to his end of the bargain. The city needs to live up their end. They cannot remove what was promised. Thank you very much.
And on a more positive note, I just do want to mention that Congressman Richie Torres has introduced legislation known as the Right to Medicare Act, which would establish a federal law that senior citizens have the legal right to Medicare.
Thank you. Any other questions? Lisa?
Can you explain the city employee, your
The mayor does not oversee the New York City retiree plans. It's overseen by the administrative code 12-125. The municipal labor unions cannot, through collective bargaining, make decisions on our retiree plans either. And yet they have, because they think they can. We have, however, have taken them up and sued them. We have won 3 separate times. They have appealed 3 separate times. We won the appeals 3 separate times, and they are appealing again.
But my question is, you pay into like a
Well, 1967. Yes, in 1967, it was enacted as a law in the administrative code. And that's why I prefaced my presentation with Administrative Code Section 12-126, which provides, and it was before then, there wasn't anything. But the city, it states by law that the city will pay the full cost of health care up to the maximum set forth in the law for every employee, retiree, and dependent. And since then, we were given a choice of many different types of health care. What he is trying to do is bait and switch, because for 30 years and 28 years, we were told what I have is Medicare plus a Medigap, which is called senior care. Oh, okay. Am I getting your question? I'm sorry if I'm not. Okay.
sector, we pay for our
Right, but as city employees, right. I would say as city employees, we generally earn or we deferred tons of raises because the city was having a crisis. Yeah. So the other thing I do want to share is that when you are a retiree, you are no longer considered a union member. So actually, back in 2014, Michael Mulgrew raided the Health Stabilization Fund to pay for the raises that they gave to teachers. So now that they raided that fund, now they're looking for the money to pay for active members' health insurance by taking retirees and throwing us under the bus, okay? But what happens is you cannot negotiate for me. I am a retiree and not considered a union member, although I still pay union dues. So I didn't ratify those agreements because I didn't get to vote on those contracts. And if you don't represent me and I don't vote on that contract and ratify it, you'll have to find some other way to a solution for yourself.
Fully understand that and and I heard from my neighbors about this, how, especially as seniors, you get attached, you have more need for relationships with doctors and doctors that you know and that you count on, that you've worked with. And I would.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you want to give me your email address, I will send you all of these links. I have numerous. Basically what happened. I'll send you the board. Okay. Okay. You know what happens? Of the 250,000 retirees, 30,000 have formed a new organization called the New York City Public Service Retirees. And we are funding all of these lawsuits. How? Through our pensions and our Social Security. It's been 3 years, almost 3 years, fighting with the mayor. And it's got to stop. We need to have intro 1099, which will codify our healthcare, but at least have a public hearing. It is now just in a committee that's not allowed to be heard by the public. Yeah. No, the bill is in committee, but they won't let the bill go out of committee for a public hearing. All of this would be heard and aired out if we had at least a public hearing. So we want a public hearing. We would like support of our council member. Or if not, why? At least I have discussed with her, and she will not give why. Why is she so against it? I want it in writing. We want it in writing.
So we're going to take one more question because we do need to move to the hearing, but go ahead.
Is the election, November. We would like it. Yes, there are 30,000 very active, very organized employees right now for our lives. literally fighting for our lives as possible, if not yesterday. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
On B1, the city will pay the entire cost of health insurance coverage. City will 100% of HIP-HMO on a category basis. Yeah, but an HIP.
Of the package, it's monetary value. Let me get back to you, please, because as I said, we're retirees fighting for our lives, and we're learning the process ourselves. Yeah, we do have counsel, and council reviewed all of this. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. I'll have it. Yes, yes. His name is Sue. What's his name? I forget. Well, okay. Thank you. You.
Hey, just
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
The health and this is to vote on.
Yes, and I think we need to have a conversation with council, their council as well. So, yeah. Okay, sorry. Okay, so next we're going to talk about, and then we're gonna actually have a public hearing on the expansion of the Long Island City bid. But first we're gonna hear from the bid, right? Okay, yep. No. So I will say that the bid has presented to the land use a couple times, and we had a hearing about a week ago on the bid. So some of us have heard this and have talked about this. We don't have.
Okay, hi. So I have a whole presentation, but there's not a projector, unfortunately. So we did give the presentation a few weeks ago to the Land Use Committee. We do have some maps. What I really want you to be able to see are the maps, so we can pass those around. I don't know if there's also somewhere where we can maybe print some maps. But so, hi, everyone. Yes. Yeah, the maps were okay. Okay. We also can airdrop the presentation if possible. So I'm just gonna, and also because we did go give a longer version of the presentation for land use, I'll keep it brief, but I want to make sure I share all the information. So I'm Laura Rothrock. I'm the president of the Long Island City Partnership, and we're here today to talk about the expansion of the Business Improvement District. So business improvement districts are a formal organization where property owners pay an assessment on top of their property tax. It shows up on your property tax bill as a separate line item, but it's not a property tax, it's an assessment that goes to commercial owners, so not residents. And instead of the money going back into the general fund, it goes back directly into the district. A bid is managed by a public-private partnership. The board of directors is made up of property owners, tenants, at least one resident it needs to be on the bid. Bid board, we have 4 residents on ours. The community board, both community boards 1 and 2 have seats on our board. And it's also represented by 4 elected officials as well. So also I should mention the assessment, depending on the terms of your lease, for commercial leases, the bid assessment can be passed through to commercial tenants. So you might have seen some of our services in the current bid. So we provide sanitation and maintenance services, streetscape and beautification, public safety, which is really more coordination with the local precincts. We have business development team, business services team. We also do capital improvements and marketing and public events. So the Long Island City bid was created in 2005 and it was expanded in 2017. We have two different sub-districts, the North Sub-District and the South Sub-District. So the original bid was the North Sub-District, which is mostly on Queens Plaza and Jackson Avenue. And then the South Sub-District was expanded to include Vernon Boulevard and 44th Drive and extend also along Jackson Avenue as well. And our total assessment is $1 million for the current bid, and that's capped by law. So we cannot raise the assessment without going through a full legislative process, which follows the ULURP process, except instead of going through the Land Use Committee and City Council, it goes through the City Council Finance Committee. My next slide is the boundaries. So we're looking at two different expansion areas. One is the west, which we're calling the west expansion, which includes areas west of Sunnyside Yards, where there has been increased foot traffic. And the way that this came about is that there were a number of property owners and businesses outside of the current bid boundaries that approached us and asked us to provide services on their blocks as well. The other expansion area we're looking at, we're calling the east expansion, which is east of Sunnyside Yards, and that's in the industrial business zone. And the reason why we're kind of looking at these as two sub-districts is because the industrial area has different needs than the area that's more mixed use, retail, commercial, and residential, which I'll talk a little bit about. So why are we expanding the bid now? In addition to people asking us to look into expanding the bid and provide more services, Long Island City has really grown in the past 10 years. So after the last between the 2010 and the 2020 census, the population grew 5 times faster than the rest of New York City, and jobs grew 2 times faster than the rest of New York City. And so because the bid really doesn't create development, it's sort of the other way around. So when there is a lot of more foot traffic, there's more need for increased services. And the services are really supplemental to what the city provides. So, and the types of businesses that have been coming to Long Island City, especially in the industrial area used to be very, just very industrial, but now we're seeing more type businesses, life sciences. We also have LaGuardia Community College, which is in the bid, which obviously has a lot of foot traffic. So had been hearing for the need for more services. So when you form a bid or expand a bid, there's 3 phases. There's the planning phase, the outreach phase, and the legislative phase. So the planning phase is when you form a committee of stakeholders who decide the draft plan for the bid, which has 4 key elements, which is the boundaries, the budget, the services, and the assessment formula. Once you have that draft plan, you go into the outreach phase, which is where we are now. And during the outreach phase, we sent out a mass mailing in multiple languages, and we've had a number of public meetings. And as part of that mailing, we also sent out a ballot. Do you want the bid? Yes or no? And this was targeted to people within the expansion boundaries. And then if we're able to demonstrate enough support, then it goes into a legislative phase. And this process is all overseen by SBS, the Department of Small Business Services. So as far as the timeline, so we're hoping to enter the legislative phase, which follows the ULURP process. We're hoping to enter that soon because the city will only build properties in the expansion area on a fiscal year basis. And the legislative phase takes, 7 to 8 months to complete. And that's like at a speedy timeline. So we're hoping that we can provide services in the expansion area by July 1st, 2024, which means we would have to really enter into legislation soon, the legislative process soon. I have some beautiful pictures of some of our services, which you can't see, but we recently did, when I talked about capital improvements, what I really mean is we recently did a big tree guard campaign. So putting tree guards in all the tree pits in the current bid. We plant flowers. We put out new planters recently. We do graffiti removal. And we have a 7-person sanitation team. They're represented by Local 22 of AFL-CIO. And with the expansion, we would hope to double that number as well. And just some of the stats, just in 1 month alone, they've collect over 4,000 bags of trash. They maintain over 800 pieces of street furniture, removed over 100 incidents of graffiti. And again, that's in our current bid. So you may have seen some of the services out there in Long Island City. We also have a retail support manager, an ambassador who walks the bid every day, stops in and talks to businesses. We also report incidents to the community board and to 311. So we talk to businesses, disseminate information that if there's new rules like on outdoor dining, for example, or we're getting new information from the precinct, we'll share that information. So we really act as a liaison between the businesses, government, the community board. And we also do public art program. Actually, at the next community board arts and cultural affairs committee, Carisha has invited us to talk about some of our public art. So if you're interested in that, I believe that's next week. I won't get into details about all our public art, but more to come. And then on the public safety front, we attend the Build-A-Block and community council meetings. We coordinate walking tours with NYPD. We attend a lot of those meetings because they happen in the evening, and a lot of times restaurant owners, can't necessarily make those meetings. So we're here to share information again with them. And then I talked a little bit about our beautification, also holiday lights. We're hoping to announce a new holiday light program soon this year. And as far as our collaboration with the community board, we attend the district services meeting, we report 311 cases, and we also collaborate on large capital improvements and annual submissions to the budget and capital expense requests. And I have some photos of the conditions in the current expansion area, but really the conditions that we're trying to address in the expansion area, mostly around garbage, weeds, and graffiti, which we see a lot of. And our steering committee members are made up of property owners and tenants in the expansion area. As far as the budget for the expansion area, so we're proposing $650,000 for the east expansion and $410,000 for the west expansion. And most of that money would go to sanitation services. So it would also pay for a district ambassador, one person on the east and one person on the west, who would be able to walk the district, report issues, disseminate information, and then a small marketing budget, winter lighting, and one-time capital improvements. We hear that there needs to be garbage cans is the biggest capital improvement that we hear. So we're putting money in for that as well in our plan. And again, can't increase. You can change as far as the bid board can decide, we want to put more money into one service or less into another, but the total amount we can't raise the assessment. So the way that the bid is funded, I mentioned, was through an assessment. It's sort of a complicated assessment formula. And the West, we're proposing the same assessment formula that we currently use, which is based on assessed value and square footage. So if you take the total budget and you divide it by square footage, the total square footage in the district, and then that come up with a rate, and then do the same for assessed value, you apply that rate to each property. We're really trying to keep costs down as much as possible. So in some of the side streets in the expansion area, we're proposing a reduced rate because they don't need as much as number of hours as far as the sanitation team. They don't have as many, those blocks don't have as many things like tree pits and tree guards. So the median assessment for the West expansion is about $600. And that would be, so a property would pay $600 annually. And the 25th percentile is $170 annually. More than half of the properties, 58%, would pay less than $1,000. The top 10 properties would pay 73% of the budget. So a lot of those are the mixed use properties that are the taller towers that would be contributing the most to the bid. And that's why our formula is based on assessed value and square footage, because a lot of those big residential towers have, very high assessments. And they can't pass on the assessment to residents, but they can pass it on to commercial tenants. So effectively it's about 5 cents per square foot. And on the east expansion, we have a formula that's based on square footage, and it's a sliding scale. So what that turns out to be is the median assessment is about $3,000, and 50% of the assessment will be paid by the 20 largest buildings that are over 100,000 square feet. And the effective rate is 7 cents per square foot. I have some examples of tenant pass-throughs. So like, what does this mean for a tenant, and how can you determine what you would pay as a commercial tenant? So the pass-throughs are negotiated by between the tenant and the landlord. And so depending on how much the pass-through is in the terms of your lease, which is really confidential information. So we have all the data on what the property owners would pay, because it's based on publicly available Department of Finance tax data. But as far as the tenants, it depends on the pass-through clause of their lease. But we do have some examples that property owners have shared with us of like how this works and what it would mean. But if you have, if your assessment is $1,000 a year and you have 4 tenants and they all have equal pass-through, then you can kind of determine what you would pay annually as part of the bid. So for our outreach strategy, as I mentioned, we sent out a mailing to all the stakeholders within the expansion boundaries. We've had over 2,000, I looked it up, individual meetings and communications. We held 5 public meetings. So by ourselves, we held 5 public meetings, and we also held 6 meetings, I think, with the land use committee of Community Board 2. We've also been trying to get the word out through press, social media, our newsletter. And so as far as the ballots, the support, we sent out, as I mentioned, the ballots. We got on the east, the number of property owners that have signed yes. We haven't had any property owners vote no, but we had 39%. So 39%, it's not the 39%, that was the response rate, and they all responded yes. On the east and the west, we had 32% respond yes. The city also asked us to track the assessed value of response. So we've had 72% in the east and 64% in the west. As far as commercial tenants, we've had about 30% in both the east and west that have filled out the statement of support. And then we've had 80 ballots from residents as well in support. So, these numbers are, the city only requires us to have the assessed value or the number of properties in order to move forward. Again, this isn't a final deal until we go through the whole ULURP phase. But even in order to get to the ULURP phase, we have to send out the ballots. So that's the process that we're in now. These numbers are much higher than, and I have some of the data here because we were asked about it at the land use committee. These numbers are much higher than a lot of our recent expansion, but also a number of other expansions throughout the city. There are 76 bids throughout the 5 boroughs. As far as, we also have a list of the number of tenants that have signed, the names of the tenants that have signed on in support, which is 140 commercial tenants. We have 170 total lots from property owners in support. Some of those have multiple properties, but It's 107 lots. And we've had a number of people who came to the last land use committee meeting, speaking out in support, and also I know have been sending letters to the community board. And so as far as next steps, we, as I mentioned, would like to enter the legislative phase. So what we're asking from you tonight is if the community board would support the bid moving forward through the public process. And once we enter the legislative process, we would go to City Planning Commission, the borough president, we would come back to the community board again, the city council, it would go through the finance committee, as I mentioned, get signed into law. Eventually, if everything passes, it gets voted on by the city council and signed into law by the mayor. So it is a lengthy process, but we're hoping that we can begin providing services July 2024. So that is the end of my presentation.
Um, 140 commercial tenants? Yeah, 140 commercial tenants. Is that commercial tenants in the, 140 separate commercial businesses in the expansion areas?
Correct. In both the east and west, not total. That's 140 that have signed the statement of support that they
I
would like to.
understand,
Yeah.
But that, I hadn't heard that before. That's interesting. Thank you.
Mhm.
I guess while I have the microphone, sorry, Danielle, and then I'll give it away. I do have a question. I mean, we've asked you a lot of questions before this, but the history of bids in an IBC, can you talk about other communities that have bids in an IBC?
Yeah, I'm looking at Charles because he manages our IBZ. I don't know if there are with the other bids. Oh yeah, so Gateway Jamaica, that's a good point. So Gateway Jamaica is a bid that was formed relatively recently, which is the business is related to cargo around the airport. Some of the like Jamaica Center, for example. Oh, and yeah, that's right. So Staten Island, so the West, what's the name of that bid? There's a bid in Staten Island that is an IBZ bid. And also in Jamaica. Yeah.
Thank you. My question relates to the criteria used to develop your boundaries. And my statement comes from sensitivity around the often experience of the Blissville section of Long Island City being abandoned, left out, and orphaned. So why is it that the bid did not expand further south of Borden Avenue, where there are over 200 businesses and approximately 1,300 residents? Why did it stop at Dutch Kills?
We're focused on Long Island City.
We are in Long Island City.
Oh, we have these boundaries. We were reaching out to people to ask them, like, do you think the bid should be here? And that's how we came up with the boundaries, is by meeting.
I didn't get contact.
Yeah, that's initially how we came up with the.
So, but I'm just going to tell you what I'm hearing is that you're supporting long-term abandonment of Blissville. We're part of the city. We share the same zip code, but you just carve us out. Yes, that's what I'm hearing.
As I understand it, the bids were created to somehow fill the gap where the city has failed to provide services or adequate services. Is that correct?
So it's there's a need for services that are supplemental to what the city provides. So yes.
Okay, so you're going, I think you said the budget was 650 for one district and I think 400 for the other, something like that. Can you tell us what proportion of the total 650,000 or 400,000 is going to be used for administrative costs and the person you're hiring to be the ambassador of those areas?
Yes. Sorry, let me just pull up my notes. So on the budget side, the district ambassador would be about 55,000, and then general admin is around 17,000.
17 or 70?
17. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hello, thank you. I just have a few questions. First, could you please clarify the point about the potential commercial rent increases on small business owners? And two, are there any protections proposed for smaller mom and pop stores from any potential, negative impacts from a bid expansion?
Yeah. As far as the increases, so the line item would be specific for the bid assessment. So on the whatever, but if there's a commercial tenant that has a lease with a commercial landlord, they have a pass-through clause in the lease, and it would be very clearly outlined what the increase would be for the bid assessment.
Please use the mic.
Oh, yeah, sorry, about the second question too, in regards to if there's any potential proposals for the mom and pop business in the area for any potential negative impacts from an expansion.
Yeah, I mean, we of course don't want any negative impacts for expansion. So that's why it's really important for us to do outreach to all the business owners and ask them if they want the bid and talk about what, services that the bid provides. And explain how the assessment works. We haven't had any negative feedback, and in the current bid that we've been operating since 2005, there hasn't been, concern that that businesses have, of course, business approach us with concerns, but not, that they don't want the bid or they don't want to be a part of the bid. So, but of course, if someone were to come to us with that concern, we would work with them to address it.
Thank you.
I have a question. So, it may or may not work. I don't know. Can you hold it closer? Okay. What I'm wondering about is how the bid benefits micro and small home-based businesses, because I noticed that you pulled commercial tenants, and there's a lot of.
Okay, you missed 2 and the bonus word. Should we?
We do have some that have been on our steering committee and have been involved and signed the statement of support. Most of the businesses are.
You missed.
That's not number 2. You said number 2.
And so we provide support to them. So we actually team that helps businesses with financing or connects. We don't provide financing, but connects them with financing, helps navigating government.
Deuce is like deuces, D-U-C.
And we also have marketing.
The oos.
The oos.
Oos. That's a good word. Oos.
Deuce is a word. Well, but it's D-E-U-C-E. But what?
Patient. I noticed you look.
Nope, turn it off.
Services,
You're gonna write introduce and purchase correctly 3 times, and we'll read it. Okay.
By being a part of.
Yeah. So nonprofits and government owned properties that if they're the owner, they're exempt from the assessment.
Purchase.
The bonus word is.
So they still receive the. So for example, LaGuardia Community College is in the bid. They don't pay the assessment, but they do still get the services. If you're a tenant, if you're a nonprofit tenant and you're have a commercial lease with the building and you aren't an owner, you may potentially pay part of the assessment. But you're considered part of the bid, whether or not you pay into the assessment if you're in the boundaries.
ASE. Kirch ASE. What? Kirch
So
ASE.
since sanitation is a big part of this, just a couple of clarification questions. So does the bid contract with DSNY or with a private carder?
Oh, you mean like the car?
So we don't carding.
Yeah, that's ACE.
Either actually Department of Sanitation does not provide carding. We don't do carding. The sanitation team, which we partner with Street Plus, is our provider. They sweep the sidewalks. They do some snow removal in the intersections, graffiti removal, and maintenance of like street furniture.
Right.
Are they a union employer?
Pay attention.
Also, does the expansion fall within one waste zone? City legislation to reduce the length of carting routes?
Like caboose.
It's multiple waste zones. Is that right, Charles?
Caboose has a C in it.
Yeah.
C. Like
the working group for the waste.
Hi, come here. You're gonna write both of these three
in multiple waste zones.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do all, I guess, businesses within the bid receive any assistance with composting?
So we would love to see composting from DSNY, but we don't have our own composting program. Since recently changed and residential set trash recently program in the bid around containerization last summer, like approved.
Okay. Yeah, the Environment, Parks and Recreation Committee actually sent a letter requesting on-street trash containers in Community Board 2. Something we should definitely follow up on.
Yeah. Otherwise, we'd be happy to work.
Thanks.
Yeah. Oh. Okay, yeah, I did ask you at the land use meeting, but I really didn't feel it was kind of stuck. I noticed the Avenue veteran is part of the expansion. And also, I don't know what the name of it is, but the new building that's down near a branch that is going to have and maybe 3,000 people in it, is going to also be in this geographic zone.
Place.
Yes, okay. So facilities won't be paying. You're on board with the spirit of welcome.
Yeah, so the Ostap place is privately owned property, so they will be paying into the bid if the bid does expand. That's the one with the 1,000 single men. And then the other shelter, that is a nonprofit, I believe, so they wouldn't pay into the assessment. So and then as far as welcoming, yeah, we also want to be a welcoming community. We want to be helpful whenever we can. We've been advocating for to help migrants get work visas. And as you know, it's a complicated issue, but with the federal government. So we've been advocating for that. We've worked with the city council member on backpack and school supply drive. We've talked to community boards 1 and 2 about, how, and our conversations have been around how can we be helpful? Could we match employers with people that are looking for work? So yeah, we're on the same page with wanting to help and also provide services in the district, because BZ hasn't manufacturing zone. There's an increased need for service. So it's why we will be providing service.
Very much appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks for being here. I imagine a lot of your business improvement work takes place on sidewalks and streets. And I wonder if the bid has a certain attitude towards the remixing of street real estate, towards pedestrianization, street safety, bike lane safety, which are big cultural issues here. Because when that stuff happens, parking spots go away or lanes of traffic go away, but street safety improves for everybody. Have you done advocacy for some of the protected bike lanes in Long Island City, or against?
Improving and making it safer. So for example, where our office is, you have to cross 6 lanes of that was a result of me breaking my foot, which is a whole nother story. But we had been advocating for a long time after increase the pedestrian. But so it's a huge, and that's just my personal story, but it's a huge issue for us. As far as the protected bike lanes, we usually get presented by DOT when the bike lane is going in. We'll meet with the businesses and make sure that they're aware. We're always looking to improve, like, especially because a lot of Long Island City was designed for cars, right? And so and getting people through the district rather than allowing people to move through it. So as I'm talking about more foot traffic, one of the things that we're always talking about is, like, now that there is so much more foot traffic, how can we look at getting people around the district easier and safer? So yeah, to answer your question, it's a huge issue for us. Yeah.
I want to, off of Riley's question, actually, improving pedestrian experience. If you go down in many of the expansion areas, 48th Avenue, Borden, 11th Street, it's an obstacle course of vehicles on the sidewalk. So those are going to be your bid members and, contributors. So I'd like to know your role in working with them to mitigate and improve that.
Yeah, so some of those vehicles are from businesses. Some of them are also, some of the auto body shops in the area too, also park cars there. There's some abandoned cars there. So those are issues that we also want to address. And by having an ambassador who's there every day, who can report those issues to the city, to the community board, so we can continue to stay on top of it. Yeah, that's something that we'll definitely want to address.
But will you be working with the businesses, going to the businesses
Yes.
indirectly and
Yeah,
saying this?
definitely. And we just today we had an example of that was in the expansion area. It's a business that we've been talking to, and we had a complaint from a community member, so we reached out to the business and asked them to move the vehicles. Yeah.
Curious. Both that ever.
Yeah. So, regarding the dog waste, so there is a rule around, not just specific for the bid, but just in general about cleaning up after your dog. We clean a lot of that. We also have, containers that have the doggy bags in some of the parks that the bid pays for. So I can't think of what the term is, but the dog bags for poop, we have some of those within the current bid, and we can put those in the expansion area as well, to encourage people to clean after their dog. Yeah, we definitely call in complaints, and that, that's something that we continue to work with sanitation on, and with the city on it, if it's in a park, for example. Yeah, so that is a big issue, and it's an issue that we hear about a lot.
Okay. So that is actually the end of our public part of our, oh, actually, I'm sorry, we have public comment. Yes, I forgot. Okay, Pat Dorfman.
Get close to you. Hello there. Let me sit down then. Okay. If I go over
We
the
are
two,
timing, so
can you hear me? If I go over the 2 minutes, I appreciate somebody
it's
asking
2
me a-
minutes.
It's 2 minutes already. I'd appreciate somebody asking me a question so I can finish because I do know more about this and the people I work with than anybody you're going to hear. What I want to ask you right now is who's paying the people from the bid right now? Taxpayers? A grant from SBA? This is happening because of large real estate interests now controlling pretty much the city council and politicians, and I'll explain that later. And I really like some of them. So we are sort of, the Kool-Aid has already been taken. We need a kind of intervention here. So bids can be a wonderful thing, and they have saved areas in blight, which was their purpose. And they do not, to answer your question, bankrupt small businesses. It's actually a good thing to share costs among everybody there. So that's not my problem. The problem is once they're in place, as we've seen here and elsewhere, small businesses lose their say. So nobody cares. So we have one thing after another have occurred with nobody speaking up. Now, what I want to point out is where are the activists? Where are the people I've been working with for 20 years that stopped Amazon? They're not, they moved on, I guess. This is against public housing. It's going to sort of dwarf their concerns. It's already being privatized too. I want to tell you something about Barnwell, GNRs, and Juan that you won't hear anyone else. And I actually like all three of those people and have worked with them. And can we stop this really? No. Even if you vote against it, eventually, this will occur because you're advisory. And also we're up against so much money and so much power, even at the, at a federal level. Area median income is established by HUD. GNRs and Barnwell tried to institute something against that, and they were taken into a side room and told, your career.
Pat, you're at 2 minutes, so just finish up this thought.
Thank you. And told you either drop this now or your career is over. The same thing happened to Julie Wan when she tried to resist Innovation Queens. So we try to, you guys work yourselves to death. I see it, you're volunteers. But down the line, all we can really do.
That's it.
Somebody ask me a question, please, because this is the big payoff here.
Okay, Manny Gomez.
Good evening, everyone. So I just would like, I've been living in the neighborhood for the past 39 years, and I know they say that I guess we have to compare bids, and I think the feeling that I have, everything started very nicely about the bid that is such a great thing, and I know I guess the intention is as the beginning it goes very well, but from what I have feel myself is that unfortunately it's not, it's something that once you create it, it's going to be very hard to dismantle. And unfortunately, I think for some communities, it is going to be a challenge. So some of them are going to be ignored. We're talking now small businesses, small moms and pop stores that are, basically, just closing out. And this is, I think, it's going to make it even worse, So I do not agree for the expansion. I think the feeling from the small business here in Sunnyside is not the best. Plus, when you were talking about the annual meetings that the bid does, from the one that they did in here, it was illegally because no public notice, no local. So everything was very done very secretly. So where is our, if you say that you're so open, why cannot the public say something about it? So makes my experience here with the bid,
in Sunnyside, it's not the best. And I live in the community. I love the community. I know the people because I used to be former district here in the area. So I really care about it, but I definitely don't think that there should be an expansion in Long Island City. Thank you.
Thank you. Debbie Farley? Debbie? No, okay, Elliott Park?
Hi, everyone. Really nice to see a lot of my good friends here. For those who don't know me, my name is Elliott Park. I am the CEO and president of Shine Electronics. We are a wholesale global distributor of used electronics and new electronics. We've been in Long Island City since 1987. My father had started the business in the South Bronx in a 150 square foot storefront, built the business up, was able to relocate to Long Island City in 1987, and we've been here since. I just have a few things I wanted to speak about. But actually, the most important thing is before I became CEO and president of Shine Electronics, up until last year, I was a community board 2 member. So I know what you guys are going through. I was a community board member for over 10 years. And unfortunately, because of the pandemic, I had to focus and refocus everything onto the business, which is one of the reasons I'm here today. Shine Electronics, we are a certified MBE. We employ about 70 employees, mostly minorities, and mostly from the local AAPI community. As a business owner, the safety of our employees is paramount, not only inside our facility, but outside, which is one of the main reasons in supporting the newly proposed bid expansion. And I'd like to share a few words about the bid and our experience with the bid. The bid services, including sanitation, beautification, community events, and marketing, have greatly benefited Shine Electronics within the current bid. We have since moved our location to 9th Street between Queens Plaza South and 43rd Avenue, which is now part of the newly proposed bid expansion. Moreover, the bid services will positively impact our employees, creating a sense of security and boosting morale and productivity. These initiatives also benefit the entire community, fostering unity and attracting more visitors to Long Island.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
On the building. I have no tenants. We are using the building 100% ourselves.
Any other questions?
Any other questions? Thank you, guys.
He did sign up.
Anyway, good evening. My name is Ken Campanelli. I'm the Executive Director of Facilities Planning and Management, LaGuardia Community College. I'm a non-voting member on the LICP committee. I have no vested interest in what any of these people do, but I've just watched the phenomenal effect that they've had in the neighborhood. I mean, the alternative is anarchy, okay? And basically apathy in a neighborhood that sorely needs it. I mean, the reality is the area surrounding the college sometimes is severely disgusting, and the LICP's made a huge difference, made the area safe for us. And I can't understand why they're comparing it incorrectly and inaccurately to Amazon and all these evil, corporate empires. All they do is improve the quality of life for you. And as just the community board does the same thing, you have a lot of common culture between the two groups. And I think this is a great opportunity for the two of you to get together and use your skill set and your experience with a team that has a different set of skills to make this neighborhood a lot better. I was here in the 70s and 80s, and even if you had a gun with you, it didn't help you. So I don't understand what all the drama is about an organization that's come here to improve the quality of life. Just go through a couple of things. I know my time's running out. Again, similar goals, quality of life for people. again, basically what they're providing, I think, is a more human quality of life is what you're trying to do as well. The city, for whatever reason, has abandoned this area. As a community college representative, I can't get the city to come in. We have 2 videos of cars being burned. We have the perpetrator on video, and that person still walks the streets. I'm not going to get into the police funding here, which is pathetic. There's only 2 cars out of the 108th precinct. And you have somebody here, a group, again, wealthy or not wealthy, we're all human beings, and they're here to make the system work and the neighborhood work. You need to consider it's a very low price to achieve a better quality of life. Thank you.
Thank you.
That I opposed the bid expansion. It was shared with me that Dirk McCall, the executive director of Sunnyside Shines, told his board that once the Shine expands to 48th and 39th, that they will join the expanded LIC bid to control Lower Western Queens. So I can't get on board with this. Thank you.
That's it. Sorry, the public comment is done. It's, you get 2 minutes. That's it. Sorry. Apply to be on the board. Please. But I'm sorry that it's attendance time. We're moving to the, okay. Okay, so that concludes the business or the public part of the meeting, and we're going to move to the business part. We will vote on moving the bid forward in the business or in the business part of the meeting. And we are going to start with attendance.
Test. Oh, there we go. Okay, great. Okay, I'll get started. Amparo Abel Bey is excused. Nelly Afshar is excused. Anatol Ashraf, I'm here. John Bahia, see you right there. Anne-Marie, yes. Anne-Marie Baranovsky, right there. I'm sorry, you didn't say present, but Carisha is excused. Nicholas Berkowitz. Kat Bloomfield. Daniel Brecker. Carlos Castel-Croc is absent. Sania Chavez is excused. Osman Chaudhary. Stephen Cooper. Kelly Craig is excused. Warren Davis. Lisa Deller. Maury Gillen is excused. Somnath Ghimire. Dr. Osman Giannitas. Camille Gray. Kenneth Greenberg. Mohammed Hossein is absent. Christine Hunter. Leilin Kandel. Badrun Khan. Dan Kitchler. Ramit Kumar. Chimang Lama. Sheila Lewandowski is excused. Benjamin Lucas is excused. Patrick Martinez. Halmatusis. Thank you. Eric Narberg. Lisha Knott. Riley Owens. Umaya Saab. Norberto Sultan is excused. Laura Shepard. Ryan Smith. Caroline Spitzer. Lauren Springer. Funsak Tashi is absent. Raquel Thomas. Mary Torres. Leticia Vasquez. And Kalsang Yanso is absent. Feels like we have quorum. Yeah.
We have a quorum.
Thanks.
Okay, we're going to move to approval of the minutes. Who's calling? Oh, I'm sorry. Tom made a motion. Is there a second? Christine seconds it. Aye. This isn't a voice vote or roll call? If you have to abstain, yeah, you have to abstain. Okay. Two abstentions. 4 abstentions. 5 abstentions. So, yeah. Yep. Okay, Debbie, I'm going to turn it to you for the district manager's report. Sure. Oh, sorry. I'm trying to move us along. Okay. 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 So I think you all know, experienced Friday's rather horrible weather event. I know that I toured several businesses in Long Island City near where I live. There was a lot of flooding, roof like leakage damage. I think we've talked about this extensively tonight, but I think one thing that I am deeply concerned about with throughout the whole CB2 community, including Blissville, where Tom is the flooding, the backups of the sewers, just the roof falling in. So when we do have the borough president or the borough board meeting next, I will express this to the borough president. But I actually think we need to get our electeds here, not that their reps aren't wonderful, but to talk to some of our electeds about the different things that they need to do. So that is something that's on my list to do, but I think we as a board should do that because I'm really displeased with the situation right now. The flooding was terrible and there's still big puddles of water everywhere if you walk around, as you all know. That is basically my report because I think the weather event sort of took over my entire life in the last few days. And then I'm going, and we did also have the hearing about the bid right here. It was about a week ago. It was 8 days ago. So we're going to talk about that when we vote tonight to move it forward. But a lot of you came out for that, which was appreciated. So we will talk a little more about the bid and vote on to move it forward or not in the next part of the meeting. Debbie, I'm going to turn it to you.
It's a hard act to follow. Okay, we have a lot of things. We do have magnets with our cards, with our numbers. So if anybody wants a magnet, we do have that. I'll start with that. But I want to thank outgoing board member Sandra Bagishka for her many years of service. She can no longer serve on the board and she has left. So let's thank her for her service. As many of you know, and if some of you don't, CB2 office experienced firsthand the flooding effects. Sadly, some of it was due to a little bit of, had they done some repairs over the last 2 years, I think it would have been a little less. However, sadly, our one of our roofs collapsed a little bit and whatever. So we were able to save equipment, which is great. That's the good side. Some of our old time files. Yes.
Should we put this in the discretionary or the request for like the community board to office to get fixed?
No.
Okay.
No.
I got you. We got you.
Well, you got me. That's a negotiation between citywide administrative services in our office, and we're still negotiating, as Lisa will attest to. For the last 3 years, we're still negotiating a contract. I think we're finally nearing it because of the flood. So something good may come out of it. But in any event, just to tell everybody, we did lose some files, some older files that were in a spot. So be it due to our retention records, but there's nothing we can do about that. But the landlord is doing the repairs and that's the positive. So we're getting back up and moving forward. We did distribute the EEO policy from the borough president's office. Make sure you sign and give it back to us. We pride ourselves on having 100% attendance for the EEO policy. So we've always given back from all the board members. Read it at your leisure. It's not fun, but you know, it's all things that we need to know and it's part of doing business. So we need to have that.
Debbie,
Sure.
excuse me, a point of order. Are we employees? Because I'd like to know where my paycheck is. Seriously, is this covering us or not?
You are volunteers and you do still have to fill out because you still represent the city of New York. So even though, as they tell you in your trainings, you get 0 + 0 =, sorry about that. but you do still have to comply with the rules and regulations of the
But
city.
the
of New
rules
York.
also apply to us, even though we're sort of.
Yes, the
what you're
EEO
saying,
policy
we're
applies to
employees.
everybody on the community board, yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
You know, we take, and just to add to that, Roz, the city staff, myself, Marianne and Kim, take EEO trainings every year. And they're underway right now, that we have to take and get certificates and apply and hand into the borough president's office. So we are, in addition to these EEO policies, and we do have them posted in the office, we take out trainings and we take them very seriously. So I want to remind everybody, next month is board nominations, which will be accepted for the executive board. So as per the city charter, that as per our bylaws that were revised. So I'm just giving a reminder. Did attend several borough consultations. So we have some answers, not many. And of course, they're borough-wide and not specifics, but we're getting as much as we can. We'll try. No. Officially, no. This month, we didn't have as many complaints in general. Of course, we had some flooding. Tom, thank you for sharing your complaint with us. But a lot of people didn't. You shared them here tonight, but it doesn't help me fight the fights at the meetings. All the community board district managers were invited to the elected briefing, which was very nice. And of course, I had Tom's sewer issue to share, but we need more. So I know Sunnyside Gardens a lot of times sends us their issues and people. I just want to remind you, send it to us because that's how we share our information. Even if you share it directly, if the board office has it, we can fight the fight with you and for you. So this month we had 19. Department of Transportations was 5, NYPD was 6, and Parks was 3. We are closed Columbus Day, Monday, the 9th. So I just want to let everybody know. And the next board meeting is Thursday, November 2nd. We did, just to add to the partnership, we did have a meeting with Department of Homeless Services and DSS. We did have it. We mentioned that at the land use meeting. And we're going to continue to work together. That's why they're called the partnership. Community Board 1 and Community Board 2 and the partnership to try to work on some of the issues in a collective, cohesive way. So we do invite them. We welcome all of their requests and we do work with them and invite them to the cabinet meeting so that they can talk about some of their issues as well. We try to be fair to everybody and we work with everybody. So we want to make sure that the information gets disseminated properly. So we had a great meeting. We're going to try to do that meeting once a month, if not quarterly. And the same with our committee with homeless shelters. We're going to try to make a meeting with them also and do something like that for us here at CB2. And that's my report for today.
Thanks, Debbie. Okay, Teal, we're going to do the city planning report.
Hi, everyone. I'll just start off with introducing Bree Mejia. She works with me in the Queens Department of City Planning. She is one of our newer employees as of April. And since not everyone was here last month, I just wanted to give a brief introduction. And Bree's going to give us some updates tonight.
Good evening. First off, on ULURP updates, the 2402 49th Avenue DP Labs application is now in ULURP. It is in the community board's window. So the applicant team will be ready to present whenever the community board is ready. Okay. And then City of Yes text amendments, ZEO, is expected to be referred out by the end of this month, October. There was informational session there was an informational session on September 27th, which focused on the housing opportunity text amendment. If you want to have access to past informational sessions or any other information on these text amendments, we have shared information and links with Debbie via email. And so please reach out and obtain those resources. There will be future sessions for the housing text amendment portion of that. So just keep an eye out and we'll be communicating with you guys. And lastly, a reminder on the community board statement of needs and budget request. They are due by October 31st. We are aware though that the community board meets earlier in the month. Okay. Okay, no problem. So whenever that is ready, we'll be able to coordinate with you guys on that. But that is all on my end. Okay.
Yes. Thanks, Bree. CEOs are it's zoning for economic opportunity. This is changes in the zoning resolution that are intended to make it easier to conduct business in the city. And the idea behind this text amendment is to just kind of get zoning out of the way, because we have a lot of different phrases in the zoning resolution that make it like difficult to have maybe dancing at a bar where it's appropriate, or mainly other issues like that. And I definitely encourage you to look at our past informational briefings. They're on our website and they're on YouTube. And I have cards. If anyone wants to email me directly, I can give you those resources via email.
Website, city planning, one of the overarching goals established by the mayor is resiliency and sustainability. What are you doing? I haven't seen anything. I see lots of buildings going up here, additions to toilets, more and more strain on what DEP describes as a capacity-filled system. What are you doing? I've seen nothing take place.
Yeah, from the Department of City Planning perspective, some of the things that we've done is in ULURP right now is the zoning for carbon neutrality. That was one text amendment that's aimed at, it's not necessarily resiliency, but a world that has more climate sustainability. And then the Department of City Planning, it's a little harder for us to speak to the sewer system because that is much more of like a DEC, DEP question. And one thing I can speak to though is a few years ago, we had the zoning for coastal resiliency text amendment. In city planning, we often plan more for the future and future construction. That's really what's in our purview. And so I think the most direct thing that we've done is the zoning for coastal flood resiliency, which set out rules around building that make it so that in flooding in areas that are in certain parts of like the flood area, we do have specific rules. We do environmental review on every application that comes through the Department of City Planning. And so when we do build or when we approve ULURP applications that do allow for upzonings, these come with an environmental review, and those are in locations where the sewer system is not necessarily struggling with capacity as much, because we would then have environmental impacts. We would require an EIS and then subsequent mitigation. I 100% recognize though that there are parts of our community district that definitely need sewer upgrades. It's something at DCP we definitely advocate for. Unfortunately, we don't have any money, so I can't fix the problem for you, but it's always something we're advocating.
To Tom. is when we're building, not just an environmental assessment, but an assessment of the infrastructure and if it can handle and not just sewers, like all of the infrastructure, the parks and the hospitals and the schools and the transit. Like it seems like that should be more a part of what ULURP is looking at. Because I understand we have a housing crisis, but we're at capacity. I mean, and I live in Long Island City, so I really feel we're at capacity.
Yes, I mean, I hear you. I feel your pain. I wish I had an answer today. But at this point in time, I can, of course, bring this back to DCP. This is something we talk about on a regular basis. Between seeker and ULURP, it is often a very fine balance because from a city law perspective, our job is to do certain things, and ULURP is one of the rights that landowners have in the city. And so we can't stop ULURP, but we recognize the challenges that so much density in this city with inadequate infrastructure causes.
Can I ask about the planning? Like, I understand that you can't change things now, but in the future, since you are a planning department, can you put guidelines around what can and can't be built in different places based upon the sewage? I understand that that's not going to do anything now, but I mean, I would hate for another community or more communities to be having to deal with sewage in their basements. And I guess I'm just trying to understand what guidelines do you have that hold both you and DEP accountable for the combined result, which is more toilets?
So from the Department of City Planning perspective, we can't change really existing conditions. We can only work with projects that would be built in the future, just because that's what we do in city planning. And that's where seeker comes into play, because any large project, they're going to have to fill out an environmental application statement or environmental assessment statement. And that then determines whether they're going to have more of a EAS or an EIS, and with the EIS being a much more intense level of environmental review. An EAS is environmental assessment statement, and it is the less intense form of environmental review. And then if a project has triggers, is what we call them, if it triggers an impact such as shadows or sewer capacity or school capacity, then they will have to do an environmental impact statement, which is the more intense form of seeker. And so that's where so that kind of brings us, I think, all the way full circle, which is that as a city agency, we are responsive to your electeds. And I always encourage you to speak to your electeds, because what we do and what's in our pipeline comes from the mayor, from city council, it comes from the elected bodies. And so we don't necessarily get to choose what we spend time studying or where capital money within the city gets spent. We are more of the organizers. And so again, please do always speak to your electeds and keep advocating so that we can do this work for you.
Thank you for your update. I have a suggestion it's not a question to you. It's a suggestion that the community board invite DEP to come and speak about this issue, because that's who we need to talk about the overtaxed sewer system. Thanks.
In hearing this, I'm going to make two statements. The left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. DEP tells us it's overburdened, and you're saying you're doing environmental study. One is saying this and you're saying this, opposite things. Second, I thank you. I direct my next statement to the elected. This is an emergency. We heard from Teal. Our elected needs to take control of the agencies. We need help. Thank you.
Yeah, given this state of emergency, is there anything we can do to expedite the abolition of parking minimums in Community Board 2 to increase potential permeable surfaces and green infrastructure to absorb stormwater runoff?
So really large areas across Community Board 2 already do not have parking minimums. And so that's a great first step. And I know that we've emailed about this before, but just so everyone is on the same page. Outside of that special parking area, we do have some parking changes that will come with the housing opportunity text amendment. So you'll be hearing from us soon on more details there.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, just given this emergency, it would be great if that passed with carbon neutrality last year. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Okay, we're going to move to committees, but I'm going to start with land use since we have a vote. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to start with land use. Christine, do you want to come up or? Okay. Yep.
So as you all have heard, we had a hearing, a public hearing at our meeting, our land use meeting on September 27th. We heard, you know, a longer presentation from the Long Island City bid, and then we heard I guess board members had a lot of questions, and then we heard public testimony both in favor and against. I will say that more of the those opposed were, I think, kind of conceptually opposed to bids or you know, and cited instances of problems with other bids. We did not hear a lot about specific problems by businesses in the area. The committee voted to recommend, I just want to get the exact wording, sorry. Yeah. So the committee voted to allow the bid to move forward with a proposal for the bid expansion. The motion carried with 8 in favor, 3 opposed, and 1 abstention. And what this would, so that is our recommendation to the board. What this would do is put the bid process or allow, it would, I think, influence our council member to recommend that the process go into the ULURP. But there still will be another hearing during that process, as Laura also described. I don't think that was discussed in detail. Why the, you know, on the eastern expansion, why it was. Other questions? Does anyone want to make a motion based on the committee's recommendation? No?
Can I make motion?
Sorry?
What? So I make a motion that we approve the recommendations by the Land Use Committee exactly as so stated.
Discussion? Mary?
Suggest
a plan going forward, explaining why certain areas are included and why they're not. Obviously, the fact that the bid is requested to be expanded shows that the initial bid both was successful, but also inadequate. So clearly there's some concern with our neighbors in Blissville that we really do need to expand on that.
Thank you for that support. And Tom, of course, Blissville resident. I do want to say I am in support of the expansion, but they need to consider other parts of Long Island City, including Blissville, though we are filled with shelters and auto body shops. There's Silver Cup Studios East. There's a Life Bio place that does re-engineering of body parts, including like ears. I don't really know the name of the place. I've visited them. What's that? There you go. Thank you. 3D Bio. Thank you. There are a number of other waste management and crane companies and construction companies that are inside of Blissville. There's a new hotel that's been erected that hopefully will be part of the television and film industry with housing those people.
So I have a question. I mean, thank you, Warren. I have a question for you guys because I know sorry. Okay, sorry. When you mentioned that on the Western expansion, you had gotten requests from some of the property owners to be included, some of the property owners that weren't included. I remember a specific block that you talked about. Did you get similar requests with regard to the Eastern expansion by property owners that weren't included?
We did, yeah. So last fall, we had, as I mentioned, we had 5 public meetings, and that was when we got some requests from areas that were just outside of the boundaries of property owners and businesses that asked if they could be included. The bid boundaries do have to be contiguous. That's part of the law. So you can't skip over blocks and then, form another district. So that was, as part of our outreach process, that was part of it to see, to define the boundaries. And there is a lot of analysis that has to go into where the boundaries are, because you want to make sure that the property owners and the businesses want it, right? Because you don't want to expand to an area that there's opposition, but also it has to make financial sense. So if there's a lot of government owned properties or nonprofits that has a high area of need, then it doesn't necessarily make sense unless, the steering committee and board approves that, because it will sort of be supplemented for the property owners that are for profit that are paying into the bid. So there's a lot of feasibility analysis that also goes into the boundaries as well.
Is there a possibility as part of the ULURP process to make modifications to the boundaries that you've proposed already?
Yeah, so that has happened before where bids have expanded the boundaries as part of it. But we would like to, I'm not sure if it would be considered out of scope if it was a completely different area that was if it wasn't contiguous. So again, the boundaries would have to be contiguous and we would have to look into that.
I'm not sure if all of them apply to the situation we have. So I'm going to take the opportunity to get involved more here. But thank you.
Speaking to Tom's question, I'm curious about what the board bid election process is and when there are nominations.
Yes, so the bid board, the bid is a membership organization. So our bylaws say that the board is voted on by the members. So and it's by classes. So, and this is all part of the bid enabling legislation. So the property owner members vote the property owner representatives, the tenants vote the tenant representatives, the residents vote the resident representatives. And we have a public meeting annually that is for bid members, but it's open to the public. So anyone can join. And we will be having the public meeting November 15th. So at Junglee. So if anyone is interested in coming, and if you would like to in order to vote in the bid, you have to be a registered member of the bid, but anyone can come to the public meeting. We're taking nominations now to fill any vacant board seats. So board members have 2-year terms that are staggered. And that's how we get new members of our board.
It's kind of funny, but in the committee meeting, we had almost an opposite discussion where the dominant conversation was whether the bid should be expanded at all. And it's nice to hear that now we're talking about it being expanded even further. So I want to thank Thomas for setting the stage here. But I think I do want to just take a minute to level set and just explain why I, at least in the committee meeting, supported the bid going forward, just so we do want to support the motion. I think I was thinking about it in terms of 2 main questions. One is, do current bid members like what the bid is doing? And then 2, do future bid members see value in expansion? And on the first question, what do current bid members think? We heard from a couple of companies today, and we heard from others last week, but they all said that they liked, the sanitation, the beautification, marketing, graffiti removal. They saw value in those services by the bid. And on the second question, what do future members think? All the feedback that Laura and the bid got, it was all positive. They didn't get a single no from every property owner and tenant they heard. They supported it. So the future members see value also. So given those 2 groups and the fact that they both support it, I think we should also be supportive of it. I don't see any reason that we should say no.
Is it roll call?
Ready?
Of calling the question.
Sorry. Forward.
Okay, it's a roll call vote. Amparo absent, Nelly absent, Anatole Asarov, John Bahia, Anne Marie Bronkowski, Risha out, Nick Berkowitz, Pat Bloomfield, Danielle Bracker, Osmond Chowdhury, Stephen Cooper. He left. Warren Davis. Lisa Della. Somnath Kamir. Dr. Rosamond Gianosis. Camille Gray. Kenny Greenberg. Christine Hunter. Leland Kindell. Badrun Khan. She left. Okay. Diana Kutcher. Rami Kumar. Yes. Chimichang Lama. Patrick Martinez. Tom Matusitz. Eric Norberg. Z. Shanat. Riley Owens. Amaya Saab. She left. Okay. Laura Shepard. Ryan Smith. Caroline Spitzer. Lauren Springer. Agnello Thomas. Mary Torres. Leticia Vasquez. Okay. Motion carries.
Quick question, since we don't have our parliamentarian here. Do we have to say like abstain for the reason, or is that, I just don't know.
I don't think you actually have to say why. I
Yeah.
think Kenny has been very good at explaining why, because we did actually ask him at the meeting,
Okay.
at the land use meeting. But I don't think you have to.
Okay, cool. I
Yeah.
just didn't know. Thank
I
you.
mean, it's in any other organization I've ever been part of. Okay, so the motion carries. Okay, so because it is late, I'm gonna ask for committee reports only from people who really need to say something. And I know Nick Berkowitz needs to say something, so.
Hello, everybody. I have an announcement, which is that on October 22nd at Pacheco Sakua, we're having our our fall winter mixer. This doesn't. Yes. Come. Thank you very much. Yes, October 22nd, 6 to 8 at Pacheco Sakua. It's a Nepalese restaurant on Queens Boulevard. It's right over here. I'm excited. I really love the turnout and us all getting together during the summer, and hope that you will all join us again for this. Thank you. Pardon? We'll discuss. Oops.
Thank you, Nick. And Tom.
Thank you. One update from the Transportation Committee meeting. The EDC presented on an update on the Hunters Point Ferry. Locations 3 and 4 were eliminated. Locations 3 and 4 were the locations within the body of Newtown Creek. They need to be eliminated because they didn't comply with the regulations of the navigational channel of the creek. 2 other sites were added for consideration and further study. One outside of the mouth of the creek, and the second, correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Oz, at the 51st and East River. Is that correct? Oh, 55th. So one of them, yes. It goes to the creek. It goes to the river. The important thing to know is, and Deb, we're going to try to support EDC as much as possible here. A survey will be coming out from EDC about more community input regarding the ferry. The Transportation Committee emphasized the need for further outreach regarding the survey, specifically electronically, leaflets, tables at different locations, et cetera, et cetera. EDC has requested to come before the full board in November. And unfortunately, Chair, I know you led this initiative, as did many others. Considering a location more north on the East River, the answer was it's out of scope, which was very dissatisfying to us. That's the update. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, yeah.
Not really, other than not, yeah.
Thank you. Everyone can always hear me when I don't want to be heard, right? What's that about? As soon as I whisper, everyone can hear me. Okay. So there's a development happening on 500 apartment buildings being built between 49th and 50th Avenues. And the developer is using all of 48th Avenue as a parking lot and staging for its construction materials. We called, people in the neighborhood have called the 108 and they actually closed 311 saying that no further, that like it wasn't a problem. Send it, okay, okay. Thank you.
All my updates.
Yeah, just quick updates from the Environment, Parks and Recreation Committee. We had a great presentation from the Western Queens Community Land Trust, specifically about the people space that they'd like to create in the DOE building on Vernon and 44th, which includes a lot of sustainability initiatives, but also how the land trust can facilitate community gardens and other green spaces throughout the community. As I mentioned earlier, our upcoming meeting on, I think I said Thursday, the 26th, 6:30 virtual. We will, of course, discuss the flooding. Debbie, Danielle, I'll work with you to get that agenda out so that everybody can come. Bring problem areas to highlight, but most importantly, bring constructive solutions so that we can get some letters and resolutions out.
Laura, can we make sure, and I can help do this, are we to get our electeds there since?
Yeah. Oh, also, we had a whole discussion about the community, the climate action plan that we would like to put out for CB2. And we intend to create a survey to just collect some feedback, input, and determine priority areas.
Sounds cool. Any questions for Laura? Oh, sorry, I keep forgetting.
Thank you. So is Western Queens Land Trust the only group that you're working with for the DOE or that we're working with for the DOE building?
It's just one group that, well, presented at the committee meeting. They have done extensive outreach and engagement. They have like, I don't know, 40 nonprofits involved somehow.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, the reason I ask is because coming up in March or April is the federal appropriations requests. So I wonder if Western Queens Land Trust could put in an appropriations request to get that, because it's specific organizations that can apply for that. So that would be a request to our elected officials, and also
I mean, they're
coordinated with them.
They mentioned they're a relatively new initiative. They're not a 501c3 yet. So I don't know if they'll be able to, but we'll, yeah.
Okay,
we
let's
can
talk
follow up
offline.
And yeah, the minutes should have more details.
Yeah, we can tell them because I know they're struggling to get money from the city right now. Okay, anyone else? Is there a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, who? Oh, Christine?
Are you going to discuss the, the support of whatever it is, 1099 that was presented, this motion and make a recommendation to the board?
Yeah, I think, so they already presented at our September, but I think now that we have a resolution, I think it's something that we should discuss at our upcoming meeting, and hopefully we'll have the answers to both the council communication. And then also, I think since they were saying that they had like these links, I think we should also see that, like, so we get as much information about it as possible.
Right.
So then, yeah, we can make a recommendation. Our meeting is virtual, so we're not going to be able to make a motion. So I guess it's going to have to station. Yeah.
Okay.
So
we
come
can
back so that,
We'll hear your thoughts at the next full.
yep,
board meeting.
that's the
Thank you.
plan.
Okay, anyone else?
I want to thank Chair Spring is in allowing us, Tom and myself, to participate as they always do in their last committee meeting. Moving forward, I will continue to be committed to go to those meetings. Most of the subjects that were brought up today in this meeting, where we, I don't know, for lack of a better word, press the council members with questions were addressed. I will say that we've expanded with shelters throughout the whole of her district and within our community board. And I'm asking more of a plea outside of just HHS committee and even Tom and myself, that we asking others within community board to participate in holding the different departments accountable with the services, including the state officials, because what we're finding out is that a lot of these shelters where the migrants are housed is not per se overseen by DHS and DSS, is that the National Guard is in there and they partner with these for-profit organizations who are not accountable to oversight and transparency. So the more people that we have involved with holding the people accountable and pressing them, that we'll see the success that Tom and myself and others who have participated in this district have seen. So please consider. Thank you.
I did want to adjourn, but we try to schedule a tour with the new shelter, the men's shelter. I don't know who would be the person to outreach about that, but it would be great to do a tour.
Yeah. Before we finish, I would also like to underscore what Warren said, and during the meeting, the Health and Human Services meeting, Tom announced that he's unable because of a conflict of interest to take the leadership. And so Warren is our leader, and please, let us reach out and help him out with this. We want to be a community that's not a NIMBY community, and he's the guy that can help us do it. We need, let's all pitch in, or not all, but okay, thank you.
Okay. Does anyone have a motion?
Second.
Do we have a second? John Bahia, everyone in favor?